ladies and germs. Welcome to the Hot Takes Podcast. I am your host, Frank McKnight. Thank you, Luke, for stepping behind the other camera for me for this specific episode. We got some co-hosts that are pretty well-versed in the MMA/UFC/beating the shit out of each other club in Dan and my cousin Evan. So we'll kind of get a little bit into it. We'll dive into it and talk about that. We'll kind of chop it up really quickly. Boys, UFC, probably at the height of its power recently with the COVID-19 pandemic. I said we've been lucky enough to, prior to COVID, we were having one of the best years of UFC. Then COVID hit and we were like, oh no, all sports were we're done. And Dana White was like, absolutely not. Took a nice drag of his cigarette, put it out in his coffee, and then drank it and was like, let's fucking get it done.
Where's my island?
Give
me my island.
Where is the money that I can get from this? And I mean, I would say 2020 and into 2021 has been some of the best years of UFC, and I don't know if you guys would agree.
Well, I mean, just the last 4 months, the amount of crazy shit that's happened with people getting knocked out that never got knocked out.
It's all people we wanted to win. I know a lot of people are bummed because one of my buddies was I was talking to him today, my barber, and he was getting on me because I was telling him who's in my top 5 for fights, and he's like, how are you not gonna have? And he's he was big on Covington, and he's he can't wait for him to fight Usman, and he wanted Jorge to win, and because he was in Miami at the time, and he was man. Shit, and everyone that look at what happened to Conor. Everyone got back on the Conor train. We were like, Conor's back, prime Conor.
I was the only one thinking that Dustin was going to win that fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was at my boy's house, and I'm like, yo, Dustin's going to knock him out. And he knocks it out in the second round.
And it was a toss-up, man. Dustin's a dog, man. I mean, once he smells blood, especially once he has somebody hurt, he goes in right for the kill. So
And that's that's the thing with, I think... So I don't want to start off offending any casual UFC fans.
Fuck them.
Yeah, but here's the thing: with UFC, I start and say I know our dads got into it from literally watching boxing and then seeing, oh my god, these guys are beating the shit out of each other in Atlantic City. We live in New Jersey, that's cool. Yeah, and our dads, us growing up, we always watched boxing in his back room of his house. It was always on the TV. And then as things kind of progressed, we started to casually also watch UFC. And then I completely pivoted just to UFC. I found it more entertaining. Not to say boxing's not, because boxing is a complex sport. I'll say that. You can either love it or really hate it.
It's sweet science.
Exactly. But MMA, where people think it's just people beating the shit out of each other, it's it's the furthest thing from that. Because when you break it down, there are guys like Khabib who could literally, he's a great fighter, but he can only wrestle. Not to say only wrestle, but he was so good at wrestling that you couldn't do anything. You couldn't do anything to him. If you're the best BJJ in the world, it doesn't matter because he's going to just get you down and hold you on the ground for 5 rounds. It wouldn't matter. So I think the thing that drew me to UFC was just the fact of the complexity with it. It's you could not just be good at one thing, and when fighters back in the 90s and 2000s figured that out, that's when the curve started to turn. We saw guys like Randy's and Chuck's who completely, innovated with it, and then we saw the Silvas, and then we saw the GSPs, and these guys that were versed in karate and striking and wrestling, and the UFC just took off. But I think personally, UFC has been at an all-time high of entertaining. The knockouts are great. The 5-round fights for the most part are great. The last not, the Dariush Tony fight was.
My boy Benny.
Yeah.
Dude, Dariush is a dog.
That was upsetting.
As
a Tony fan,
But exactly, as a Tony fan, you got to be upset. But listen, a part of you had to know that was possibly coming because Tony Ferguson was a guy that was at the height of his power when he was going to fight Khabib, who is probably hands down could be a top 10 fighter of all time. People could say top 5. It depends on your take with it, and his style, again, was a good wrestler. They were going to fight didn't happen. Then eventually Tony went on kind of was it a losing streak after that of...
You got 3
after
losses.
Khabib, it was Gaethje.
3 fights.
He fought Gaethje.
Gaethje lost.
Lost to Gaethje, then lost to Olives.
Yep. Olivier, and then it was Dariush. Mm-hmm. So a guy that was at the height of his power, he's considered one of
the dominant fashion too.
Yes, and that's the thing. It wasn't he just got caught on the chin and went to sleep. It wasn't that he got submitted. These guys toyed with him for a prolonged amount of time, which, again, for a guy that's committed to a certain guy. Diego Sanchez for a lot of cases, like which is we won't even get into that on this podcast because that's a nightmare. Diego Sanchez is considered like an all-time great UFC fighter. He's on original season of The Ultimate Fighter? Or was it season 2?
He won the first one.
Season 1, yeah, because it was Stephen Bonner and Forrest was season 1, and I guess was 1A or whatever. Right. Basically, he was really good, got older, whatever, and now he's with this psychopathic coach, like insane.
Well, they split now.
Did they?
Yeah, I think it was announced like yesterday.
Oh, really? It was announced. Oh man, I missed it, dude.
Yeah. He's been blowing up Twitter and stuff.
Oh, he basically like it was like a cult leader, and he convinced him to like think he was like at the height of his career still when he was 42, maybe like
Did you see that training video?
Oh my God,
Diego was handing his.
Did you see where he's chasing him with a knife around the octagon?
No, I didn't see that.
Running around and rolling and stuff.
Dude,
oh my God.
It's just like this guy thought like his training ways were like the best of all time, and like again, Diego hasn't won a fight in. What, 3 fights? 2 fights, 3 fights, 4. He hasn't won in a very long time now, and like, he just like the coach had a death punch, right? The coach was saying he has one punch that could like kill a man or something,
like fucking Kill Bill with that fucking heart punch or whatever.
Yeah, what is it? Isn't it? Oh, I forgot what it. Yeah, it's that. Yeah, what is that from? 1 inch, right? Is it? Yeah, there we go. But
running around with a knife, huh?
Well, what was the other one where he was
with a knife.
hanging upside down? Right? Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like punching him and kicking him.
He punched him and kicked him for 15 minutes while he hung upside down like a bat, and he said that's how they start off all their trainings.
It's conditioning.
Yeah,
for
conditioning.
Like punches, taking punches
that
to the
reminds
face.
me of like the dodgeball coach. Like,
dodge, dip, guy.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Like, what the hell? Like that's crazy.
Well, except that worked. This
didn't work. So exactly, it goes back to the fact that like, look at the guys that are coaching certain champions now. Yeah. He wasn't in any of those camps. Like he's been probably kicked out of those places. Like. We'd like you to not come back anytime soon.
He's one of the bullshito gurus. You know, he's like like the guy that was teaching Anderson Silva in his prime.
I was literally just gonna say the love guru.
What was his name? The actor that was coaching Anderson Silva.
Oh, was it Steven Seagal?
Steven Seagal, yeah.
Weren't they supposed to have a fight?
They were gonna box, or was it like
yeah, they were like he was like he's like gonna train me in like Bushido.
Dude,
some bullshit.
In a complete
or Aikido, that's what it is.
Aikido, yeah.
Dude. In the complete pivot, you guys hear about Chuck Tito, what would it be, 4?
Oh my God, dude, don't even get me started.
Apparently that's
Tito's a fucking idiot.
I hate that man
I hate
so
that
much,
fucking moron.
Listen,
he says funny things sometimes.
No, he's
hilarious.
He
doesn't even do it on purpose.
No, except but Tito and Trump are in a very similar role where they don't always realize like what they're saying of like that's hilarious, but like oh boy, like oh well.
There's an issue there.
Yeah, I mean, listen. They were two greats at their time. I've never liked Tito. I've always hated him. I thought he was always a punk, and like he ate what he said. Like he was always like, I got you, Chuck. Chuck Tito too. I mean, man went to sleep, went to Uranus, dude. Got knocked out. But that's the problem with fighting, where we need to get away from. Like that's the other thing we have to split from in modern day fighting. Like the Jake Paul Ben Askren thing. I don't think it didn't kill UFC at all. Did hurt it a little bit because people were like, "Oh, well, Ben Askren, Olympic champion." I'm like,
to the casual fan.
Yeah. I was about to say.
Anyone that knows the sport, they knew that Ben Askren is a predominantly, or he's a wrestler.
He's a wrestler, yeah.
He was never. I mean, if you watch his striking highlight tapes, it's just a bunch of crazy spinning back fists that never land.
He was also coming off the couch from a hip surgery too.
Exactly,
it's like
retired for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, he caught a bag. That man caught a fat bag.
And he was smiling on the way out.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen. If you want to compare it, I don't know if you guys watch Rough and Rowdy. Do you know what that is? The Barstool.
Yeah, I know it is. I don't watch it.
So Jose Cansenko, they got him to fight, and they had him fight one of their like football interns, and the kid like hit him. Jose Cansenko went to throw a punch, and he like tore his rotator cuff apparently or something. I don't know if they ever like announced that it was fully torn, but he tore it and then went into the corner and said, "I'm done." Like 30 seconds into the fight, and I think he got like a $1 million payout or something like that. Yeah. So like it comes to the question of like, oh, just toss the loss for some of these guys where they're like, I don't care. But
same thing like Floyd versus Logan right now. That's happening next weekend?
I didn't even know it was that recent.
I said it on this podcast. I said it on this podcast. if that fight is an unsanctioned fight, there is there is this much of me that thinks there is a chance it could go the other way. Just because listen, Floyd doesn't like losing. Like, that's very simple, and he's that guy. If it's a fight that doesn't count for his record and it's just a whatever, and again, I mean, it'll get blown over.
Why wouldn't it count?
Well, I'm saying, is it unsanctioned or is it sanctioned? For his record. I'm saying for his record. Like, if it's an actual fight, it counts for the wins and losses. If it's just like I don't want to say like a sparring event, but if it's just a whatever and they're advertising an exhibition fight, so it wouldn't count for his record, and it's just for like promotional and then to get the money, like. Because Floyd Mayweather is notorious for giving his boys money and them betting on him, and that's how he makes he makes a ton of his money from boxing. Obviously, boxing pays you out disgusting, but he gives 20 of his best friends $10 million, $5 million each, and says, "Put this money on me to win." Yes, that doesn't pay you out stupid because most of the time he's the favorite, but if he puts this much money down and he wins $1 million every time, he's getting the money he put down back anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like, he gets that money back and he gets profit, and then he gives his boys, here's $20K. His boys don't care. Like, they're like, great, like, sick. I just made a payday for putting a bet slip in, because you're not allowed to bet for yourself in boxing, right? Like any sport, right? Am I not wrong?
Yeah, no, I think that's illegal.
I think so. Again, his 20 best friends are like, sick. I just came across $20K, or oh, I just found this $1 million. Let me put it on Floyd. Like, not a coincidence that I'm his best friend or I live in his house. But
that's what makes it exciting, because that's the main thing about fighting, is anything can happen. I mean, that's any sport really, but especially fighting, I feel, because it's always that one punch.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's always that one shot that can end everything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, because and like you're saying, for the most part in other sports, if basketball, if you see the other team turning, you can kind of slow the ball down. Mm-hmm. Football, you're starting to come back. I can run the ball more and try to eat up more time. Baseball, oh, this guy's going to hit off me, I'm going to walk him. You can do things to alter your game where someone's coming at you. It's hard for you to go. I mean, look at what Gaethje's pretty well known to do it, where like he gets rocked and he kind of runs around the octagon. Like, that's what guys do. You can only run for so long. But, like you said, there's been fights where a guy gets out of it and just throws that Hail Mary or just throws an elbow or whatever, and that's it.
I think that's what I love most about it.
And that's why I think, and I hope more people continue to kind of fall in love with it for that aspect. That, like, again, it's a sport that is more than just two guys beating the absolute shit out of each other. Mm-hmm. It's also like a thing of honor. Like, I think that's really cool about it. I think every sport, you're committed. Yeah. But, like, I just think this is more of an honor fighting system for a lot of guys. Some guys, you can tell they're just like, I like it for the money and they're whatever. Yeah. Some would say that's Conor now. Conor is like, he's at that point where he just fights because he knows even if he loses, he's going to get the most money of the card.
Yeah, but I feel like he also just loves it at the same time, and I feel like every time he's won or every time that he's lost, too. He's always been super respectful after every match, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look at the Khabib fight was bad when you look at it, the build-up and the fight, and afterwards he was like,
that was only one. That was that one blemish. Yeah, that was some super bad blood, but
that was a nightmare of a. Listen, that's going to be a great docu-series one day. Like, that's going to be a really good. Like, someone's going to make a 30 for 30 on that. Like the time that McGregor almost murdered.
Was dark, man.
Dude,
it was dark.
Bad. Like that. That's the thing that. Also, people get into it with Conor because they kind of love that he's the villain. He plays a villain so well, but it's like everyone loves him. He's like, I can't even who do I compare him to in superhero wise? Because it's like it's literally like almost it's a cult leader. No, but it's like a cult leader because he literally says almost all the wrong things. Like, he just shits on the person, completely says he's gonna do these things, and then everyone's like, you are the chosen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Which listen, I love Conor. I think he's amazing for the sport. Mm-hmm. Regardless if you like him or not, he's good for the sport. Like, from where we were with, like, the guys that... I mean, listen, I love GSP, but this was him in press conferences. He didn't... he's like, oh, I'm just going to beat you up. Saturday night, I'm just going to beat...
I'm not impressed by your performance.
Yeah.
Went to the cage.
With Matt Hughes.
That's cool, like, how he's not phased at all.
Oh, dude.
But that's not what sells, though, right?
It depends. I think GSP back in the day did because of his performances and they spoke for himself, but you are right where certain guys... Dana White doesn't like certain guys because he knows how they sell. Like,
GSP was undeniable. Same thing like Khabib. Khabib didn't really say much before he started beating everybody.
And I mean, look at Jon Jones. The reason Jon Jones does so well is, I mean, he's an amazing fighter. He's one of the best. I mean, regardless of his tarnishes and stuff, he is one of the best of all time. And the guy literally is he's a bad guy. Like, he's been popped for drugs. He's been popped for cocaine. He's had arrests. He's had DUIs. People buy his fights. Doesn't stop.
Didn't he hit a woman?
Yeah, hit a woman, yeah. Doesn't stop. And people still love him. And sadly enough, I don't love his character outside of the octagon. But boy, when he gets in the octagon, man, he's one of my favorite fighters. Dude, the only loss he has is an illegal elbow that has been changed, right?
No, I think did it go to no contest or still DQ?
No, I thought it was the DQ, but I thought
that would have counted as a loss, and they might have went to no contest.
Okay, I thought they had either gotten rid of it or they were saying the elbow is going to be gone soon, and when the elbow goes, then it goes to not a loss, it goes to the, like you said, it'll go to DQ, and he'll go back to. He deserves to be undefeated if he doesn't fight ever again. Like,
sure.
Come on. Like, the sport gets very, there's a difference between that and the Sterling knee. Sterling kind of sold it a little bit. Listen, he still caught that knee, but Jan was like, oh, I didn't know. Yeah. Come on. How long? You've been fighting this long and you don't know that if the guy's coming up.
Yeah, Khabib was saying to, I think he was saying to DC, he's like, his corner is saying, hit him.
Hit him. Hit him. No, he's saying knee him or whatever. Yeah.
He said, I thought he said hit him, and so he just decided to knee him in the face.
Exactly.
Which is like, all right, if they say hit him, why are you going to choose the illegal way to do it?
Hit the guy,
I'm sure everything happened so fast.
He had his hand on it, they're like, hit him. Knees him in the face.
So basically, there's certain things in the UFC that are illegal, and he was, what was it, one knee down?
He was clearly grounded.
If you have a knee down or a hand down, you're a grounded opponent.
I think I watched this one.
You probably did.
It was at my house.
Yes, I remember, yeah.
The afro.
No, he caught the knee in the face. But Aljamain was clearly grounded, though, so it's like, how are you even going to, be like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
his ass was on the ground. He had a knee and a left ass cheek on the floor.
Listen, that second fight, if Sterling has a defense, which...
I don't know, man.
I don't know, because, listen, Jan was... Jan was destroyed.
That was ridiculous how a judge had Aljamain winning.
Oh, dude.
I was like, are you on drugs?
Yeah, it was 2-1, right? The judge had him winning.
I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Sterling was pressing, but Jan, dude, as soon as Jan came out and did that kick that knocked Sterling to the ground,
right around.
I was like, oh fuck, this is gonna be a long night. This is gonna be a long fight for this dude.
And that was a good night for me. I had a 5-fight parlay that fight. That was the one.
That was the one you hit it.
And if Peter just kept beating him up, I was like, this isn't looking good, man.
Dude.
But then I got lucky.
I was texting this kid too because I think I had a 3-fight parlay that night, right? It wasn't the one I had the 4 and I took the 2 underdogs.
Yeah.
Because it was the Nunes fight too.
Yeah.
Nunes who
just ridiculous.
Destroyed, man. Dude, destroyed. Awesome. And it's sad because Megan's a good fighter.
Yeah.
She's also like the size. What is she, 6 foot?
She's like 6 foot, 145.
Dude, she's you would like her too because she's engaging. She's like on Twitch. She's on. She plays Call of Duty.
She's an Aussie, right? She's
an Aussie. Yeah, Aussies are trying to take over the UFC, man. They're trying. They're funny.
Awesome, man.
Oh my god, who was the girl? That I think she won when we were at Game Time.
Chikagian.
Yeah, and we looked at her
Twitter
and the shit that she
she just got caught.
Yeah, her shit got. She said her shit got.
What was she like?
Did you hear about this, bro?
It was like strictly black porn, very explicit.
On her Twitter.
Yes,
dude. Yeah. And this was leading up to the last fight, right?
Yeah.
When did you guys go? You guys just went on.
We went to Game Time to go watch the fights.
What was it? 2 weeks ago or
it was
a week
2
ago,
weeks.
whatever. Yeah, dude, she got outed. You got to follow some of the UFC Twitters and Instagrams I follow, dude.
They asked her at the post-fight press conference. They were like, really? Yes, the one dude's like, he's like, oh, so we saw that your Twitter has some pretty explicit stuff that you might be into, like on your likes. Care to elaborate, or if it was hacked or not? She's like, I like what I like, and then she's like, nah, she's like, actually, nah, my shit got hacked.
But bro, it was mad funny too because people on the Twitter Twitter was like, oh, this is an interesting account to follow. She's a great fighter, and would just send you to this, and it was just strictly.
Bro, I was confused. I thought she was Frankie Edgar's training partner because I think they said something about that. But then she trains out of Matt Serra's gym at Long Island.
Really?
Yeah,
I think she switches back.
Does she go back and forth?
Yeah. She goes to one gym for jiu-jitsu, another gym for.
Yeah, she probably goes up to that one for jiu-jitsu.
Well, wasn't that the issue? Also, I know we're just pivoting around, but whatever, we'll kick it right now. Wasn't that the issue with Sarah wasn't in the corner of Sterling, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he a little bothered by that?
Yeah, Sterling told him
he's like butthurt from that.
I mean,
he was his main man for years.
For years, he helped him get to the point that he was at, and then he's like, hang back this one. Like, what? You're fighting for a title and you don't want me
former world champion. You don't want him in your corner.
Not even that. Let's not forget who he beat.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the man beat GSP in the height of his prime, like where he was finally at that spot. So
he's been in a spot like that before. So
yeah,
if anybody has any insight to give him,
like going into the second round, he could have been like, "Yo, what's good with it, Frank? We good?"
Yeah, I think so.
It's moving. Yeah.
Okay, it's moving.
I was concerned for a second. I'm running this. I don't know how to do it, so I'm not the tech guy. But we'll just kind of, again, I think the UFC's in a great spot. I think you guys would probably both agree with me with it.
I wanted to say 3 things that stored in my head while we were moving all around. One, boxing versus like UFC and whatnot.
Yeah.
Why is boxing like 10 rounds?
12.
Why is it 12 rounds?
Shorter rounds,
used
right?
to be 15 when it back in the day.
It's 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, a little shorter.
Yeah.
But still, though, that's for the person fighting. That is like so tiring, right? Imagine it goes all the way to 15 rounds, and then you have the viewer. It's like, all right, for me at least, it's like, unless it's a really good fight, it's like, when is this shit going to be over? Sort of.
That's
a little dragged out.
Yeah, well, that's
a little dragged out.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Why boxing has kind of become the afterthought that it is, and especially now that like Floyd's not there, so
yeah.
I mean, that was your big buy. Now you have other people that are still there, but again, if a casual viewer is going to buy a pay-per-view and you're going to watch boxing, it's great. Like, again, there's certain fights, like the McGregor with Mayweather, that shit blew out of the water. Everyone bought it. Right. But then you have UFC fights where even if you're just a casual fan and you see one fight and then just a secondary or a third where they try to have the main event and the co-main event be fights that people will like, people would rather spend the money, in my opinion, on something that there's a better chance of having, a prolonged interest in, with something like that. And again, it's like, it depends, because like you said, like it might be exhausting for boxers, 3 minutes each round, whatever. UFC's main events and title fights are 5 rounds for 5 minutes each. So like that's basically 25 minutes in the octagon if you go to decision. Think about that. True. That's almost 30 minutes of fighting. Just like with minute breaks in between.
36, right?
Yeah.
12 times.
So, and not to say boxing's not as aggressive, but for a certain degree, boxing you can kind of hang. Like if you're getting tired and you're like, oh, round 4 was big on me.
Clinch,
I can just kind of back you into the corner, back up. UFC, again, you have someone that's going to press you. You're using your strength to get him off you, and then he's trying to get you on a takedown, and you're up against the fence and you're foot stomping him, and then you're exerting energy because you're hitting him, and then you're like, all right, let's back up, and then again he gets you to the ground, and then you're trying to get out of a submission or there's just so much more you're doing. So again, I can't speak to boxing with it, but I would say for the exhaustion factor, there is a better chance you'll go especially you go into those championship rounds of UFC. Once those guys get into the 4th and 5th round, unless you're Max Holloway, you're
not only that, but they're not making the millions of dollars that boxers are making. So they're fighting even $20K, a little bit harder. Some would say, you know what I mean, just to get their name out there.
Like there's certain
guys
guys
trying to get a fight of the night, because if they get a fight of the night, they get an extra $60,000.
I was gonna say 50.
It was 50, but then they upped it to 75 for the last card because of Tony.
Okay. Well, I think also it probably will stay that way soon, because I think now you're gonna probably see Dana getting a little bit more heat from not paying guys. Like again, I mean, listen, he doesn't pay everybody, and you can't pay everybody equally. That's not how it works. But like there are, I mean, look, Bellator is nowhere close to the UFC, Bellator is nowhere close to the UFC when it comes down just again the nickels and dimes and everything. But like some of those guys are making pretty. Wasn't it?
Well, a lot of those guys make more money than UFC guys. Well, the average guy does. Yeah.
Wasn't it Rumble Johnson? Didn't he just come out and say that he made more in his 4 fights with Bellator than he did in his whole UFC?
Corey Anderson.
Corey Anderson. Yeah.
Rumble just got arrested for for identity theft.
Oh, that's right.
He beats. Who did he just beat? He beat someone in the Bellator light heavyweight Grand Prix, and as he's going on his flight, he gets arrested for identity theft.
Sir, we think you're not the person you're saying you are. Oh my God!
Congratulations, but I gotta take you.
We got you.
Rumble? Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's me.
The last point I wanted to bring up was what you also brought up before about Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought this up on the pod before, and I said this before on the pod as well, but the whole pride thing.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think he's going to let Paul win
for the pride.
Pride.
Yeah.
For the whole pride aspect of it, even if it is just to get a quick bag.
Yeah.
I think the whole pride aspect.
I don't know, but I think when you're 5'7", weighing in 150 pounds, fighting a guy who's 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's not like, there's a bit of a difference. You know what I mean?
It's going to depend on. Again, the polls have shown that, no, are they the best fighters ever? No, but they kind of get it. Like, they get it. Like, again, they haven't...
Yeah, they're athletic and they understand.
Anybody so that's like, you can't really bat an eye and be like, holy shit, they beat Ben Askren. You beat a guy that's a wrestler in boxing.
Right.
Okay, I'm an NFL quarterback. I beat you at throwing touchdowns.
He knows what he's doing there. He doesn't really believe that.
No.
He's just trying to get his name out there.
Of course.
To piss people off at the same
time. Listen.
Well, I mean, that's boxing, though. Yeah. You just pad up your record until you're making the most money that you possibly can.
I stopped watching boxing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because it's just, again, it's guys you just...
Because who is it? Tommy Fury? He's boxing soon, and like his last 5 fights, he's had like fighting guys with records combined like 0 and like 127.
Yeah.
Nobody knows
like,
who they are.
Something ridiculous.
I'll compare it as a joke. I'll compare it to in the prime WCW when they were pumping Goldberg.
Oh,
like Goldberg went on a streak of undefeated at WCW, and he got to like, I don't want to quote the number. Let's say he got to 50-0. Then they like the next episode, like 2 weeks later, if you hadn't watched, they'd be like, "Oh, he's 75-0 now," and they're like, "What? It's been 2 weeks and he wrestles one night a week. How does that make sense?" Yeah. And then eventually got to like 130-0 or whatever it was. So just like, 100%, I agree. It's like that. It's just that kills it for a lot of people. It's like, all right, come on, like the record is great, but like the fact of fighting is to fight and like to beat guys that are worth the fights. Like, that's almost why, like Dariush said, he's like, listen, he's like, I don't care right now. I'm going to keep beating dudes until someone notices, like, I can beat these guys. Yeah. And look at his last couple fights. The guy's proven that he can fight people.
Yeah, that's what the UFC loves to do. They love to put on fights that it's always the best fighting the best. That's what 100%. Makes the fight so exciting. That's and they have these fights every single weekend. Yep. You know what I mean? You don't even have to know the names of these guys to tune in, and you'll see great fights.
Yeah, you got ESPN Plus. It's free.
Exactly. And that's where they make a ton of money too, because again, someone that's on the fence about buying a pay-per-view, they're like, oh, well, I don't know. Let me see what's going on this month in UFC. And then they watch 2 ESPN Plus fights, and they're like, shit, that was great. What was the first one that was on prime time that was the big one? Remember, it was a couple months ago we talked about it. It was their intro fight, and they had like...
Was it...
Was it the Holloway?
Was it Cejudo and TJ?
No.
No, TJ's just coming off of the suspension.
Yeah. It was before that. It was just when
I thought you meant when they first went to ESPN.
No. This is like just the past. I think it was the Holloway fight. I think it was Holloway Cater.
Oh yeah, when they were on
ABC, right? Yeah. So that was the thing. They went to ABC. You're not going to see fighting on ABC. Yeah. Max Holloway, ex-champion, put on a complete clinic. One of the best fights of a guy beating another guy, but the other guy not giving up. Yeah. Like, they could have called the fight. You can make that argument. But, bro, Cater, I have more respect for that dude surviving 5 rounds with Holloway and showing, like, even though he wasn't pressing, he's like, I'm not going down. Like, that's like a Rocky moment, you know?
Well, that's on his corner, I think, for not throwing in the towel at that point.
They could have, but, like...
Well, what was, like, the medical suspension for them? They put him on suspension for medical.
Really?
Yeah, I think Cater was, like, minimum 6 months. Yeah, it was, like, minimum 6 months. Holloway was, like, 2.
I mean,
it was such a ridiculous.
Suspension too?
Yeah, they put them both on medical suspension. I mean, it was ridiculous.
It just might have been because of the fight, and like again, Dana White is known to just like do that, especially after if he's pissed off at a corner, if he's pissed off off at that stuff, he'll just say like, no, you're gonna take a break because if I give you another fight and you do that again, you could die.
Yeah, I've seen backstage footage of Dana after the fight, and he was like, I want him to go straight to the hospital.
Yeah, I saw that.
Games, take him straight to the hospital.
Yep, and they literally got him in a car and they left, and they had him go. I mean, I'll send you. Just got to look it up later, like Calvin Kattar versus Max Holloway, and just watch like a highlight. What did it go? 20? Didn't it go 25 minutes?
I think it went the distance.
Yeah, it went the distance. It was decision, but I mean, he beat the guy up for 5 rounds. Like,
you've probably seen the clip of Max going. He was talking to the commentating booth as he was fighting.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, I'm the best fighter in the UFC, and he's looking at the commentating, and he's throwing punches.
Well, remember he was,
yeah.
dude, remember he was coaching him up? I thought that was a cool moment. I know people were like,
he
"Oh,
said,
that's
put
cocky."
Your hands up. He was boxing him like
he
this.
He was boxing him
inside.
like this, and he had his hands down, and Holloway literally like went to grab his hands, was like, "Put them up more." Like, and I also think part of it was like, I don't want you to stop the fight, like, because if you're like hanging down
felt bad
here,
for punching him in the face. He's like, "Dude, block these punches."
Yeah, because he was sitting here like this, and he's just like boom, boom, like taking hits, and he's like, "Do this, like, please make it harder for me to just hit you." But it also was kind of like a coaching moment because Kattar was an up and coming guy, and Holloway's been there, so Holloway was like, "Bro."
But that's the funny part because like, Kattar was saying, "I'm the senior in this." And Holloway's the freshman, remember? Because he was saying that he was older than him.
But that's not the case.
Because
look at what
Holloway's been there since he's like 20.
But that's what I'm saying.
He said, "I'm the senior. I'm the best boxer."
But again, it shows like the age. Holloway's been doing it since this time, and he's been in that line. Like Kattar hasn't been in that limelight as many times as Holloway. Holloway's been robbed countless times now. I mean,
especially the two title fights.
I mean,
especially them.
Again, like I said, we got to see Ortega win it so he can beat Ortega, and then we get Holloway Volkanovski 3, and that could turn into a 5 fight real quick.
Yeah,
that'd be wild because that'd be the first. Wouldn't that be probably the first UFC 5?
Yeah.
If he goes to a 3, it'd be the first 4.
Was there any other trilogy where it was
2-0?
2-0? Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a trilogy 2-0, at least in the UFC.
Don't bite your tongue. Jorge Masvidal apparently. That's gonna you didn't hear about that?
No.
What Usman?
Usman said that he's like, yeah, I'll grant him a third fight.
Oh my goodness. Why?
A whole nother thing.
I think Usman just wants to piss off Colby by acting
100%. And I low-key love that though. Like I'm starting to like Usman more, and I like that he's trolling Colby.
I like Usman too.
Colby's in that outside spot, like he's like, "Oh, I was robbed of that last fight." I'm like, "Well, you went out." So like, you weren't robbed of that fight. You got knocked out. Like you were winning on the card. Like in my opinion, if that went to
it was a TKO.
I know, but if that went to a decision, he won. I think. He would have beat
Usman. I think the judges had it 3-1 going to the 5th.
Oh, no, 100%. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Usman was going to win by decision,
but Usman tagged him, and, yes, like you said, it was a TKO, but, I mean, he was pretty out.
Yeah. I'd love to see that rematch. What a fight, man.
That'd be great.
2 wrestlers standing up just throwing shots at each other for 5 rounds.
Look, Usman proved a lot to us, though, man. We said the guy didn't have striking power, knocked Jorge Masvidal out, who does not... Bro, Jorge Masvidal, regardless of his record, that guy he doesn't get knocked out. No. He got, and the corner put the water on him, which is, again, it's illegal. You're not supposed to put water on the guy because it makes it, like, harder to wrestle him. Bro, he got knocked out. The water, there's a picture of him going to sleep, and the water droplets are just falling off of him.
I mean, that card in general was just fucking crazy. That whole card was ridiculous.
Dude, my boys...
Who was before them?
That was
Rose Whaley, right before.
And Valentina.
And Shevchenko before that, yeah.
Bullet, baby.
What a card, man.
Let's go.
That was the best card in a while.
Bullet Club. We love that. Yeah. Dude, I told my boy, I was dogging one of my friends who was a UFC guy, and he was like, "Oh, these girl fights suck." And I was like, "You're 100% wrong." He's like, "I want to see more." Like, I forgot there was another fight that was I forgot what the fight was that was supposed to happen. I got pushed to fight or whatever, and he's like, "I wanted to see that." And he's also a Colby guy, so he's like, I'm pissed off. He's like, "I want to see Colby with that." I'm like, listen, you'll get your time. And I'm like, these fights are going to be gassed, don't you worry. And they were exactly that. Like, great. Valentina killed it that fight, dude. Unstoppable. The Rose fight was crazy. I did not see that coming.
Dude, you know what's funny? I put $20 on Rose right before when they were raising Valentina's hands. I'm like, I'm going $20 on Rose money line right now. I think she's gonna win. She just holds her up like a lawn chair.
Oh, great, bro. Dude, she went. Her leg went.
Oh, it went all Stipe.
I was just gonna say it. I was gonna just say we can call it a Stipe now, and that hurts every bone in my body.
Underestimating her so much, man, because she. I mean, who did she fight before that? She got
Who, Rose?
Yeah. She got knocked out. Or no.
She
lost her belt to
Andrade.
Yeah, and she was teeing her up the whole fight.
And then
she was boxing her face off, and then
she picked up slams on her head.
Slam knocked her out, and then she came back, got a win over. Who did she fight after that?
I can't remember.
That was her most recent fight. Oh my god, shit! It was literally it was a good fight too.
It was a close one. Oh no, she was it Andrade too? Didn't she get the revenge on Andrade?
It might have been.
Well, anyway, yeah, she went up and she got a redemption fight there, and then I mean, she's just so underestimated, man. Her striking is so good, so clean, so sharp. I think she would beat Joanna again. You know?
Oh, she will. Yeah.
And not only that, I think she'll definitely do it because like the next time she fights, she's gonna have more time to train and realize like those again. And that's the other really cool thing about UFC and fighting. The training that goes in. Like if a guy wins or loss, a loss will change you completely as a fighter. That's why a lot of people are excited for this next Conor fight because Conor could have fought longer if he was checking those leg kicks. He was getting kicked in the leg and that man could not stand in the round he went to, like could not stand up. Like he went to the ground and he's like, I'm just going to put me to sleep. Yeah. Like kiss you on the head. Good night. Bang. Like right to like, but I mean, dude, it's so... Andrade, and then yes, you were right. She got the revenge on Andrade, and then she just beat.
That was a close fight. I remember that. It was pretty close.
Yeah, it was a good fight though. Rose had I think people was a decision.
Yeah.
Because I think people were saying that they thought Andrade got it, and again they were biased with it. But I mean, listen, the UFC. As much as we as a fan base are great, we can be really toxic at times.
Oh yeah,
like
for sure.
Everyone's
fans,
like recency bias is the biggest
God.
thing in.
Well, and that's where like we were talking about before. It's like I really hope more people become more invested, and you don't have to be like a super fan, but just like your opinion that Conor's the best fighter of all time still is like not relevant anymore. like that was great.
But that's fun to have that opinion.
No, and it's great, but the problem is you spread that to more people,
right?
And then you tell your dad, and then your dad goes to his buddies, and they drink, and he's like, Conor's still the guy, and some guy that's in the back like,
you fucking
do
idiot.
you watch UFC because Francis is at the top of the, whatever it might be, like. Buddy, Conor's not even in the top 10 all around. Like, I mean, is he still in? I think is he 10 for?
He's 5.
Did he drop or did
what, pound for pound?
I think he's 15.
I think I would hope he's not.
I think he was no, I think he was out, and then who the fuck just?
Well, Gaethje was in and dropped out on the.
Someone just dropped out. I can't remember who the fuck it was.
It wasn't.
I don't know, but I remember he was out of the top 15, and now he is 15.
Well, Kamaru's moving up quickly with it. I mean, bro, he's
Kamaru should be number 1.
I think.
Did he get past?
I wasn't sure if it was him.
Did he pass John?
I thought. Well, because it was what? Wasn't it
Jon Jones?
Jon Jones, Khabib.
No, Khabib dropped out completely.
Well, I'm saying like prior. And
no,
then
Khabib was 1. Yeah. Jon Jones 2. I think Izzy 3.
Yeah, and then Khabib out, Jones up, Izzy up.
Yeah,
Izzy
everyone moved
lost.
up 1. Yeah, Izzy moved down. Jan comes into the picture.
Yup, 10.
And then Usman moves up to 2 after his last fight.
Yeah, which I mean, deservingly so.
I think should be 1.
I agree with all that.
Yeah. But all right, we'll get into our top one. So we'll do. What are you guys thinking? You want to do favorite fighters right now? Just kind of like chop it up with that, and then we can move into more of the categorized stuff. I'll kind of just read my list off the top. We can chat about it, and then we'll go around. So. Right now, I love watching Jan. He's not a favorite fighter of mine, but he's a great guy to watch. I think he's good for the sport. I think the UFC is great because I love the stories of sports and how they work around the world. I mean, you see baseball players from all of the islands down, and they grew up only with a wooden bat and a whatever and barely had anything to play. Same thing with soccer. You watch these guys do it. Fighting is so interesting to me because you hear these guys. Francis Ngannou's story is one of the wildest stories ever when it comes to a come-up story. He was literally in the sand mines in Cameroon, or was it?
It was Cameroon.
Was in Cameroon. Mm-hmm. This man was mining as a child, almost like right on the brink of becoming a child soldier, becoming enslaved into a situation like that. Escaped to France, went and dude,
got deported twice.
This man is a unit. If I show you what this guy looks like, Frank, you would be terrified. Like, he is gigantic. Got deported, finally came back, and a guy stumbled upon him at a boxing gym, and he wanted to train there, and the guy was like, you're going to train with me, and then noticed that he wasn't bringing his stuff home, and was like, what are you doing? Why are you not, bringing your stuff? And he eventually told him, I'm homeless, and let him stay there, trained him, and he became the guy he is now, and he went into the UFC, and I mean, dude, he's on a tear. And from the first time he fought the champion Stipe, who is on my list as well because I love Stipe. The first time he fought Stipe put on a clinic because he was just trying to knock you out. The most recent time that man stepped into the octagon, Francis, was scary for that division.
Mm-hmm. Totally different,
dude. He was so much more well-rounded. He was pushing, he was wrestling, he was stopping,
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he sprawled on Stipe, I was terrified.
Dude.
I was like, oh my god, there goes my money, and there goes Stipe.
And then he landed a nice few shots, and then got up and didn't maul him right away again. He
Yep.
took his time.
Yep, like resettled.
Oh, wow.
Because normally, like you're saying, he would hit, and then the guy would come up, and he would just try to go right back in, where you get lazy like that sometimes, that's where a guy will hit you. And a guy like Stipe, who has been a world champion, was the world champion at the time, he waits for that. He waits for you to come in recklessly, and he'll just... Because, again, the science of it, if you hit a guy in certain places, they're going to go to sleep most of the time. Yes, it depends on pressure. Right back here, if you don't have a good enough chin, like there's certain parts of your head that if they hit you right, you'll just be like this, and you'll go blank.
Especially when you don't see it coming, too.
Exactly.
Especially when you don't see it coming.
I mean, Jan and Francis are two big, huge guys I'm into with it. Valentina has proven me that I really think she could be a dominating force. I really want to see her versus Nunes again.
Yeah.
I really want to see that fight again because I think the only person that can stop Nunes is her.
Now, they fought twice already, right?
I don't know how I feel about that. I'd rather just...
People say that she got robbed the second time.
Yeah.
I
mean...
But I'd rather just them stay their separate ways. Just because Nunes is big. She's got like 3 inches on her. She fights in 2 weight classes above sometimes. It's like, do we really have to have that fight again?
I guess
Why can't there be 2 great...
Yes. You know? No, you're 100% right.
Like, this is like the thing with Rose, too. Like, everyone says now, it's like, oh, Rose is actually in that talk. But you can't compare her to a 125 Valentina. She'd get killed. She's not big enough.
She would die, dude. She would die.
It's like, well, if we just have them. Because there's only 4 weight classes in women's. Why can't there just be 4 queens of
you're 100%
women's MMA?
right.
Not anymore, right? Do they still have 145?
Yeah, they were talking about getting rid of it.
Yeah.
There's only like 3 girls in there.
There's
Amanda, Megan, Felicia Spencer.
Yeah.
I think most of them went over the Bellator, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are hopping over that way. But, so my thing with it is like, back when I was watching UFC at a prime point, it was Brazilians just controlled the UFC. Like, they had this stranglehold that it was like not a single American, Japanese, Chinese, European, didn't matter. It was just Brazilians because... The wrestlers and the boxers came into the UFC, and these Brazilian dudes were like, I'm going to kick you in the face, and you're not going to see it coming. And Anderson would throw a front kick to what? Who was that? Vitor Belfort, where the man went to sleep. Like,
and then Leo does the same thing. Half Brazilian, raised in Brazil.
I'm still like a little bit, I have that bias towards it where I'm like, listen, I liked the reign of it, and it was great for the UFC, but let's keep it where we're at this point of like, I want these belts to be all over the place, and I'm done with Brazilians dominating. So, like, Charles, I thought that was an awesome win for him, and, like, it hurt me because I love Chandler's story. I mean, the guy's a great guy. He's got, 2 adopted kids, right? I don't know if you guys know that. Like,
I know he's got at least 1.
Yeah, so, I mean, and, like, again, they're African-American. Like, that's, like, he's said, he's just such a good guy. Like, and he's, like, I don't know. I'm like, how can you not root for this dude?
Yeah, but the Bronx is literally the same way. Like, still lives in the favela, but yet he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
He still lives there?
Yeah, he just has like a nicer house, but he still lives in his like.
And everyone was making fun of him when he was a kid. Yeah,
he basically like donates food to the children, gets them gifts for Christmas because they can't afford it and shit like that. Like, literally just the guy that just gives back to his thing.
And that's not to, like, take away, because, again, a lot of these Brazilian dudes, they do, like, they get that bag, and then they go home, and they help, because Brazil's in a bad spot. Like, Brazil's not a...
Well, they're also nationalistic, too. They just have so much pride in being a Brazilian that they're like, we gotta help everyone out.
And that is also the other thing with, like, that's why it kind of sucks, and sometimes I do root against the Americans, because, like, we don't treat it like it's, like, a pride thing. Like, Japanese fighters, like, European, certain people, they, like, Russians, look at Khabib, bro. Yeah. His record mattered more to him than the gold. Like, he did not even care about the title. He cared about, like, him never losing a fight. And it wasn't like, oh, he retired because his dad was like, you should retire. Like, and then he talked to his mom. Like, he's like, oh, now my father has passed away. I have to go talk to my mother to see if I'm going to pick up another fight. I'm not, because she also agrees. You think Colby Covington, like, not to put him on blast, you think if he go ask his mom, like, hey, mom, can I go catch a bag or should I retire?
Same thing with like Conor McGregor. Remember when he would fight, he had like the whole of Ireland coming to his fights.
Dude.
I mean, they would take over the stadiums with chants and everything.
Yep.
It was
and
insanity.
And it was a pride thing. Yeah. And then McGregor became like an American fighter. People like consider him now. He's more of an American fighter.
He's always been like that.
Yes.
A little bit of a douche, you know.
But like, you know, that's
keeps the money coming in.
Exactly. That's where I am with it. I think like the pride of fighters. That's what like I get behind. I also like Valentina because she's like a badass gun person. I love guns, and I love
she lives a life. She literally lives a life. She beats people up for money, travels to the U.S. and shoots guns. That's literally all she does.
And again, like you said, she is 1,000% an assassin.
An assassin.
She is 1,000%. Like if you were ever on an actual mission, like a SEAL, you'd be like, oh shit, you guys, that's Valentina. Yo, can I get your autograph? Are you fighting this weekend? Bullet to the face.
Does she speak like 5 languages too? Like she speaks like 4.
Dude,
she's Spanish.
5 languages, and I think she's like ranked in shooting. Like I think she's like a medal winner of it. Like it's not. I don't think it's just like I'm good at this. I thought she like competed. Like maybe not like gold medals. Dude, badass. Conor, we spoke about it. I mean, Conor is kind of like, I don't really even want to go into it too much because everyone's like, oh, Conor McGregor. Like, okay, we get it. Yeah. Oh, what fights have you won? I bet you're not going to want to hear when I say he lost the second fight in decision. Again, it was close. It was a good fight. I only do that to push people's buttons too. Like, I do think Conor won the second Diaz fight, but I kind of like, well, do you think he really did? And people are like, yeah, of course he did. And it's like, people are like, he made Donald Cerrone quit. I'm like, Donald Cerrone's at the like, no, he didn't. Like, Donald is at
Stephen A. Smith bullshit that was going on.
Don't even. If you got punched in the head that many times, I think you'd quit too.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the other thing. People don't like. That's why that guy, especially Stephen A. Smith, needs to be wiped off the face of the earth when it comes to UFC. He doesn't get it. Like he's like, oh well, Conor, and I forgot who explained it to him. Someone put him on blast. Oh,
it was Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
He was talking
with
to
the
someone.
Elbows, remember with the shoulders. He
yeah.
said, he's like, do you understand that that's like a move that people don't use, and when they do use it, look at how effective it is. And he was explaining, bro, if you get Joe Rogan to go on you, you're gonna die.
Well, yeah, he's like he quit, but then Joe's like he broke his orbital bone. Yeah. Like, what do you mean he
in
quit?
His face, yeah. Again, that guy's just a guy that gets paid for clicks. Like, I mean, he's an idiot. I hate that man. Like, just because again, he doesn't help the sport. Like,
he's another one. People watch him because they hate him. Yeah.
Well, and you know who we actually just. Did you see who went at him? Was it Megan O'Leary? Did you see that? Did you hear about that?
No.
So Megan O'Leary is, I'm saying that right? The broadcaster.
Oh, I'm well aware.
So Stephen A. Smith made a comment about how the UFC has some of the best broadcasters and named all the dudes and forgot her. What? And she didn't come at him like aggressive, but she's like, oh, hey, Steven, you missed one. And she was like, I wasn't, because she was like, it was probably just an oversight on his side, but she stood up for herself. Deservingly so. She's a badass in that position because not many women would like take that job and then also become like invested in it. Her husband is a fighter. She is an analyst and she's good at her craft and she's, again, the UFC revolves around sex. They sell sex, like, you know, the ring girls. I mean, that was back in the day. That was what their big money was. Dude, you'd meet a ring girl and people were more excited. I'd be more excited to beat.
Frank says it every time. He's like, that's my girl.
Well, I forgot her name already. But,
who's the girls, bro. Who's the GOAT?
Yeah,
who's the GOAT? Who's the
Is it? I need to look.
Listen,
Brittany, yeah,
it's a very,
you're talking the ring girl.
it's a very diverse. It's not just like it was back in the day where there were 5 of them. Because who's the GOAT?
Ariana Celeste. She's been around forever.
Ariana Celeste was the first like big ring girl people were in love with. But again, she kind of stood there and she stood her ground, and I respect the shit out of that because she's
been around for a while too, man.
Yeah, dude, and she's good for the sport. She knows what she's doing. She's a super good professional with it, and she helps the sport for women who would women are going to hear her. You think a girl wants to watch girls beat the shit out of each other and then hear guys and just talk about it? Yeah. They'd much rather hear a girl interviewing and talking to them and understanding it and coming from a different point of view. And again, that gives people that want to be reporters I don't have to just do baseball. I can do professional fighting.
Yeah, that was like Ariel Helwani's thing.
Yeah, and dude, I'll take that back. Ariel Helwani kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes because I think he can be a little bit of a crybaby. I'll say I do respect the guy. Who's the other commentator with Rogan?
John Anik.
Yeah. Love John. That guy
Those
rocks.
three together. Joe Rogan, John Anik, and DC. They're the best
together. Yeah, but I would like to... I've always said this. What is it, Goldberg?
Yeah. I mean, he was...
He was a
staple for a while,
Yeah, and your tail of the tape. I literally still picture it on Spike. I just watched 1,000 Ways to Die. Yeah. Now I'm going to watch UFC highlights. I can literally hear that in my head playing. I wake up every morning to that.
Okay, yep. Yeah, that's the other one, Brittany Palmer.
So we got Conor. I said Stipe before. I think Stipe's he's a staple in that division. Yep. I'll say Holloway and GSP. Holloway was one of those guys that was just a complete dog with just he's one of those tough as nails dudes, doesn't give up, awesome fighter, has amazing performances, and like I said, he's been robbed. It's really shitty to watch those fights and watch what happened to him. Izzy is someone that I think I didn't like in the beginning and I'm really starting to like more. Yes, he can be a little bit of annoying at times. He can kind of be
he's always annoying.
He rubs you the wrong way kind of a thing. But then you go watch him fight, and you're like, "Shit!"
When
he humped Costa, though, that was fucking hilarious.
Dude, Brazilians got so pissed off at that.
Dude, they hated him after. Yeah. But you know what? I love Izzy too because he's that guy that backs it up. He is that guy that's sick. You think you're gonna beat me, and look at what he did to Gastelum. Bro.
Hey, but that was close.
Man. That was a close fight, but
it was a war.
And that's. We'll get into it later, but that was a war, and that's what turned me on him. And when you saw him, again, that wasn't for views, but when Izzy was looking across the octagon and saying to Gastelum, "I'm gonna die in this ring," not to be dramatic, that gives me goosebumps because, bro, that's a man looking you dead in the eye that you're fighting for 20 minutes. You fought for 20 minutes and beating the shit out of each other, and he just looked at you and said, "I'll die in here." That's scary. That's
no gift.
No joke, no smile. He's I will die with a bloody lip. That Izzy was hit. He was puffing up here, bloody lip. He's I'll die in here. You won't die in here. I will die in here. That's some fucking serious shit, dude. That shit'll make you be all right. That's terrifying. GSP and Jon Jones are my last two. Those were the original guys I kind of was watching when I was growing up and I was more relevant into it. Jon Jones specifically was that dog. I loved light heavyweight. I thought that was the guy. I was so satisfied with his fights. And I thought he was that dude that was just he's so badass. He literally he's this good. It's hard to believe this guy's this good that he can beat these guys that bad. And then GSP was that guy too. I always wanted to have that mentality where I was I always want the American to win, but then I just started to listen to GSP and understand this guy, and I was shit, man. How do I not? This guy was bullied when he was a kid, and he started karate, and that's why he's a fighter, and he's a good fighter, and he's a good dude, and he's not that. He doesn't jaw at you. He just sits back and just hangs, and that's sick.
Did you hear the one where I think he won the belt the second time? After he beat Sarah, he was I know I'm not American, but I want to keep this belt in North America as long as I physically can. I was oh my God, this is my guy.
This is the guy, yeah. And listen, that was probably Dana saying, "Bro, we got to get more Americans to like you." He's probably you got to say something right now.
Yeah.
But those are my guys. I'll kind of pass it over to you and see if you got a couple.
Yeah, GSP and Jon Jones are on my list just because, similar reasons.
Yeah.
The best of all time. But I also got Anderson Silva because I think I don't know the right word to use. The most defining moment is when he beat Chael. In the 5th round, lost every single round and puts him in a triangle. That was really the heart of a champion.
Yeah.
He got his ass kicked for 4 rounds. 5 rounds, really. Yeah. 4 3/4 rounds and still found a way to come out with it. Was it a
minute left, right?
It was literally a minute left. Ridiculous.
So 23 minutes and 50 seconds, 24 minutes and 10 seconds, whatever, of him getting his ass kicked.
Which no one has ever done to Anderson before.
No. That guy is literally considered a Mount Rushmore of fighters, considered up on the top. Mm-hmm. And a triangle, right?
Yeah, it was a triangle.
The guy put him in a triangle with that amount of time left, and the guy couldn't hold it and submitted him.
Wow.
Crazy.
That guy was probably pissed.
Chael Sonnen is. Chael Sonnen's also another cry on the internet dude. I love Chael because he knows the sport, but man, he loves to
he's always. Do you see what he's saying? You see what he's saying about Jon Jones now? John's like, he's like, oh, I'm about to give birth to something like out of the ordinary, and fucking Chael like cropped a picture of John's face on like a pregnant woman like giving birth, but he can't see. He's like, what are you giving birth to, John?
My God.
And John's like, keep my dick out of your mouth. They're just going back and forth.
I seen a video the other day. He's like, I hope you like lifting weights, John. Because he's gaining all that weight to go up.
Well, because did you see his chunk boy photo? Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, John's pretty scary. I'm like, he's always terrifying, but he looks like thick, but maybe like I think he could cut a little bit.
Well, John said he's taking another year off.
Oh yeah,
he just said it today. I think it was
in the UFC, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
he'll run a stack real quick, get all jacked up, fucking.
Dude, at this point, who the hell knows what this man's gonna do with this career? I don't know. I can't even get into that because every time I think Jon Jones is here to stay, it's like
matters about money now. Pay the man, and he'll come and he'll fight.
Pay the man, dude.
That's it.
Pay the man. Give him his bag that he's deserved.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost it all when he lost his Nike deal.
Yeah.
Oh, he lost it? Oh.
Dude, he lost his Nike, remember?
Ago, yeah.
Dude, the UFC signed a big Nike deal, but he signed like he was the guy for Nike. Mm-hmm. And they dropped him like it was nobody's business. After I think it was his second DUI, maybe. Who knows? Like,
I thought it was when he
hit
and run the lady.
I thought, it might have been that. I'm just more saying, like, there's a million ways he could have gotten it cut. But GSP and Jones are good ones.
I also got Chuck on mine, too. Just early days UFC, that's the guy.
Dude.
Went on a 6 knockout win.
UFC at one point.
Yeah, but he went on a 6-fight knockout streak when he was the champion.
Yeah.
6 defenses in a row, knocked him out.
Yeah.
And he beat remember when he beat Sylvia? Tim Sylvia, the giant, remember what didn't he, or was it Couture?
It was probably Randy.
It was Randy.
Randy fought
when Randy knocked him out and people were like, because Randy was what, 6 foot maybe?
6'2",
dude.
But he was like 220. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Yeah. And this guy, Sylvia's like
6'9".
Yeah, like ridiculous. Trumps over him and people were like, Randy's gonna die in there, and Randy like knocked him out or whatever.
And then I want to go Stipe, but we already got Stipe.
I mean, Stipe is a solid pick.
Now, are these favorite fighters or these?
These are I put these are our favorite fighters. Okay. Like I put Stipe there too because like Stipe is another dude like. When you make it big, you could be done. You could be like, I'm big now. I don't need another life. He's a firefighter, like still a firefighter.
But also, it's hard to be the champ at heavyweight for long. Like guys hit that hard, and guys are that big. That's extremely tiring.
Yeah,
get hit in the head with literally like the size of my phone. That's
bigger
people's
than
fists.
Yeah,
and he was champ twice. What? He had 8 defenses as the champion combined. Like
I think he had 4, but that's a lot.
I think it was 6 in one reign.
Stipe?
Maybe.
Or Francis,
DC,
DC twice because he lost to DC once, so that's 2.
He beat Overeem.
Overeem.
And then Verdum, he got the belt from.
Yeah,
he beat Verdum for the belt.
Shit, I thought that was one more. Regardless, I mean, even
the GOAT.
If it was 4 or 8, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I would say he's the GOAT of heavyweight too. I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't want to keep just like saying like just the fucking heavies. I feel bad when I don't really fuck with like the lightweights. I mean, because I'm a big boy myself, so I like watching the big guys fight.
Listen, it terrifies me when certain times, like again, I'm a bigger dude. I know what weight class I'd fight in. It doesn't make me happy. No, it doesn't make.
I don't think any weight class you'd be happy to fight in.
I think about it every day at what weight class I would fight at, and I don't think I'm happy about it because I realize that, and I shit my pants every single day, dude. That is when you like, if you ever do that, like just think about what weight you'd fight in, and then like pick the top 5 guys. Be like, could you even stand in a ring with that guy for 30 seconds? No. Okay, let me cut 20 pounds. No. All right, this isn't looking good. Let me go to 160. Like, no. Okay, you know. I love the bit. Listen, I've always been light heavyweight. That's always how I watched UFC when I was younger. Now I've gotten older and I like the guys that are a little bit more mobile because, I mean, you see a guy like Sean O'Malley who's this, like nothing, but that man has knockout power and he tries to be so technical and that's a cool thing to watch because, I mean, you're like, holy shit, this guy's, how much does he weigh? What is he?
He's a bantamweight. 135. I think he's like 6 foot.
130.
Close to it,
what do you
5'11".
bench? What do you bench? More than 135?
A long time. Yeah, more than that.
You bench more than he weighs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit's crazy to me when you think about those guys, and even the tiny guys like Edison Figueroa, like those guys, bro.
I feel like back in the day, nobody really watched them though. Like,
no,
it was light heavyweight. Maybe middleweight for what Anderson.
Yeah.
Fought at middleweight.
Well,
and then like below that,
the lowest weight class until 2008 was 170.
Yeah.
Because they had 155. I think they made it in 01. And then Jens Pulver, like, he left or something. And then, like, 7 years later, they just decided, let's bring it back. And they're like, let's bring back BJ Penn.
Then they had Benson Henderson.
Then Benson Henderson.
You just took, like, a book out, blew the smoke off it. Like, 01. Like, oh my God. Oh, dude, that was a crazy times in the UFC.
With those times myself.
Oh, dude. Well, yeah. I mean, we've got a couple years on you, but I mean, you're still well versed in it. But I mean, that's crazy. Do you have any others to mention, or?
Actually, yeah, I was thinking about it for like 185ers, like Chris Weidman. I started rewatching like his old fights, like when he fought Lyoto, when he fought Anderson.
Dude,
yeah, he was a dog back then.
Like,
I loved Weidman in those fights, bro. Oh, yeah. Dude.
I was really hoping he was going to come back, and he was talking about making another shot. At
the
title,
that's what you're saying.
And then he broke his leg.
And don't even want to think about that because that was. Luckily, I think the UFC's in a really good spot that doesn't happen very often. But boy, when it happens, it's rough, bro. When that stuff happens, it is.
Then you had that, and then you had Jacare break his arm, and like, not on a good run this month.
Jacare smiled at it, like.
Well, dude, those metal cups, bro.
Bro, he broke his arm, and he was like. Sick.
That was like when Tim Sylvia snapped his arm. When Frank Mir snapped his shit. Those cups, man, they just torqued your fucking bone.
I mean, you could even say with Dariush. I mean, he didn't break anything like that.
Oh, no, his knee is...
Something popped.
His knee was destroyed.
Dariush destroyed Tony's leg, and he was... Remember when he was in pain? You saw it move
twice.
A little, and then he was like...
I was like... Charles had him in that armbar?
Oh, yeah, and his arm hyperextended.
That's a tough guy.
Dude, if I had 2 knee surgeries, watching Benny put him in that heel hook, I was like, oh my God. Like, I would have tapped instantly.
Dude, I would have been like, you would have taken me to the ground and would have been like, sir.
Yeah, as soon as he grabs my heel, just stuffs underneath his armpit. I'm like, all right, get me off.
Nope,
get me out of here.
I am good. Thank you very much. Oh my God. I mean, that's a solid grouping though. You got any others or that's
Nah, that's it for me.
Ev, what do you got?
All right, well, I'll get this one out of the way. I got Conor McGregor, obviously, first. Because, I mean, I started watching back in, I want to say, like, around 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Forrest Griffin was the main guy who really got me. So I'll mention him first, actually. Forrest Griffin was the main guy. I seen him, I don't know what made me want to watch it, but, like, going on Optimum On Demand. Yeah. There was, always those sports things and stuff. Yeah, and, like, I seen, like, MMA training. Like, I've never seen MMA before.
Yeah.
He's the biggest underdog.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when he beats Shogun when he first comes over from Pride, arguably the greatest fighter in the world, and then beats Rampage for the belt.
That was the fight that got me into watching UFC. Is him versus Rampage. I had that fight on my PS3. I must have watched that fight 10 times. I was like 12 years old. I'm like, this is awesome. Evan's cute.
I'd probably have seen him watch the fight 5 times. Because I'd walk into his room like, Evan, you want to play a game? No, dude, I'm watching this. What? Just like watching a fight. Evan, this is like 6 years ago. Yeah. I know.
Because I grew up watching boxing, and then I see this guy kicking this guy's leg off. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. You know, this is different. But yeah, so Forrest is definitely up there because he introduced me to the whole thing, and then Conor, of course. I think the first fight I saw Conor, I didn't really see his come up. I seen after he beat Dennis Seaver.
Yeah.
And the interview after the fight, he's like, "Make sure you shine that belt with the spit bucket." Fucking that got me, dude. I was like, "That's it. This guy got me." I've been hooked on him ever since. I mean, and then of course he blew up. But yeah. So Conor. Darren Till will be my next one.
All right.
Darren Till. I don't know why.
The meme god.
I like Darren Till.
He's funny, man.
Every word.
Yeah.
Dude. like he's clearing his throat every single time he speaks. And he's also a good dude for the sport too because he's like a meme god. He just like anything that goes out, he just tries to meme it or like he'll make fun of anybody and he'll like accept every fight. Like I don't like Vittori trying to say that he's like hiding. I'm like, bro, Darren Till's not hiding.
Darren Till was thinking about fighting.
Darren Till
when he had his broken collarbone, he just came on I don't know when it was released. He was on Bisping's podcast.
Yeah.
And it was the first time he's like done an interview or whatever. He's like, I was trying to get back in there, like get a cortisone shot or something to get back in there. And like, Darren, if he picks you up and dumps you, you are literally going to be done.
Dude, because that man is a body. Vittori is a big dude. That's gonna be that.
But
Izzy is gonna be. No, I know, but
Darren used to be the weight bully when he would cut down the 170.
Yeah, I think Darren I consider more like not stocky. He's like he's more cut out all the way. Vettori, I see more like I feel like his upper body is just like.
Darren's got thick legs.
He's got big legs.
Trunks, yeah, dude. I don't know if Vettori would be able to get him down. Honestly.
I would love to watch Vettori versus Till if in my opinion when Izzy wins again, hopefully. Yeah. But we'll see. That'll be a great fight.
Yeah, no, but he's just exciting to watch. He's funny. He's always on the he's always on the face of a video or something.
Yeah, on the face of something, exactly.
So he's up there. My next would be Dustin Poirier. He's a dog to watch. All of his fights are exciting. He's a good dude. He's got a lot of charities going on in his hometown and stuff,
Well, so kind of back to the pride thing. I feel like certain states you get more prideful. Louisiana is like one of those. You fought in the bayou, like you're that guy. Like,
Lafayette.
It's like gumbo and like just like beating the shit out of each other, and that's like what And I think he grew up on like not the streets, but like I think he grew up in like a tougher. He fought his way.
Yeah,
like,
he definitely
kind of like
neighborhood,
but like Jorge, like him and Jorge both like fought like in those kind of buildups of like, bro, that's how they like lived. Like they beat the shit out of guys, and like that was their lifestyle. And their parents were like, you literally cannot fight all your life, and they were like,
yeah, I can.
Yes, I can. Watch it and like. Look at the two of them blow up. I mean, again, I think it's a bummer. Like, Poirier is not with the title. I mean, man deserved it. Like, I would have loved to have seen him get it. I think the trilogy makes a lot more sense. You know how I felt about it. I thought that Conor versus Poirier should have been a title fight because I knew Khabib wasn't coming back. I laid out the whole division for Evan. I texted him like, this is what needs to happen. I was like, Chandler, because I said Chandler Gaethje should have been the fight because then you really know if Gaethje's going to come back or if Chandler's your guy. And then if Chandler loses that fight, you still have room for him to come back. It's not like he's done, but you decide on what's going on. And then you made the Poirier McGregor fight a title fight. How many buys you get if you put that for the gold? And I also think there's a better chance Conor takes it a little bit more seriously if it's for gold. Because when not to say he doesn't take it seriously, but when that man sees gold, it's a stereotype against Irish people. He sees a pot of gold and that man, he gets greedy. Yeah. He gets greedy. He wants that shit. But
yep.
You got any others?
Yeah, I mean, we already went over Stipe. Stipe's on my list. Jorge, I mean, you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, with all the backstreet fighting and all the things that he's
Kimbo,
done there.
baby.
Yeah, I mean, that exploded the sport in and of itself,
When he went on The Ultimate Fighter, when Kimbo went on The Ultimate Fighter, bro, that was a wild
After Dana was saying how Kimbo sucks.
Yeah, literally.
Let's be honest, he wasn't really that good.
I mean,
he wasn't.
Listen, he did big things for the sport. Because people that like never wanted to watch it were like, and he kind of held his own in the sport. I mean, people thought he was gonna get dogged, and he did pretty well, dude. Like, and I mean, he went up against guys like Brandon Schaub.
Yeah.
Below the Belt podcast. Shout you out.
Yeah. And I got an honorable mention, Robert Whittaker. He would be like my sixth one, I guess. Yeah.
So you want Whittaker?
Bobby Knuckles.
You want him?
I like him, man. I don't know. Something.
You want Izzy to win, and you want a rematch, and you want him to beat Izzy.
I kind of do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Izzy's coach is fucking annoying. How he's like, oh, Robert's ducking him.
Robert.
Yeah, it's like,
it's
like, dude, he just had a fight with Kevin Gastelum.
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, I wouldn't have fucking taken that fight.
No, if anyone was smart, it's like...
It was like the night of, they're like, hey, you want to sign this? He's like, no.
Not even 2 months later, he's like, can I have a full camp before I'm going to have a
computer
title?
games for like a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he plays Doom on his off time.
Does he really?
It's so funny.
Dude, I would never, no, absolutely not. Like, no. Even if he destroyed the guy you're going for a title fight. That's a different fight. A title fight is a different fight than a regular fight. Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking, just so we can go right into top fights next. If you guys have any top 5 favorite fighters of all time, because I know this was favorite fighters, and then we can kind of combine the two. I think they've already kind of been combined, but like if there's any other ones that you want to put on your list, like I literally like my unbiased list of people that like. Maybe weren't my favorite, but were the top 5. I have Randy, Fedor, and Stipe tied at 5 because I think they all had really good involvement in the sport and like making it what it was. Khabib is on there, but like again, I think you can kind of make the argument Khabib's not there, but you also can't like deny that. I mean, he was a dominating force. Randy, GSP, Jon Jones. That's like my top 5 of it. Like most of the people, again, were on my list already, but I don't know if you guys have any to add.
The only person I would add would probably be Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah.
That would be like the only one. What, he went like 21-0, 22-0 in Pride before he got fucking...
Well, Frank, you were talking Pride, and I was like, oh boy.
I was only going to just bring up Fedor and Vanderlei.
The like legend of Fedor will be something that's like never... like truly figured out by like new UFC.
No,
They'll
a
never
lot of people
understand it. Like that man,
stone cold killer, man.
Dude. And he might have killed people.
He might have killed like he's going to get a coffee from Starbucks. He'd just like walk in, just straight face, just
and just go in and they just knock you, beat the shit out of you. Yeah, like nobody's business. Like I loved the UFC equivalent because he didn't. When did he even come to the UFC? Didn't Fedor did Shit.
Fedor was never in the UFC.
No. What did he go to? What was the closest
He went to Strike Force.
Yes, Strike Force when he fought at Strike Force.
And he got knocked out by Dan Henderson.
Yes,
I would add Hendo to my list too. That's another
Henderson's coming on a list, my next list that you might enjoy one of them on. But dude, Mirko Crow Cop was a rando that I loved. Him and Ryan Bader I fucking loved back in my heyday. I watched Bader's most recent fight where he lost his light heavyweight title in Bellator. And bro, I texted you after. I was like, that man just got... And he didn't... I don't even think you watched it. No. Bader got his ass kicked, bro.
He lost to Nemkov.
He lost to...
Isn't that his name, Nemkov?
I think it's Fedor's like cousin or protege or something. Dude, he's literally... I think he trains under Fedor. So like, this is like a... It's like, dude, that's Ryan Bader's Rocky. Like, that is, like, completely, like, I'm going to crush you. Like, that's exactly what this situation is. Like, Ryan Bader might try to fight this guy again.
Wasn't Bader the heavyweight champ in
I think
Bellator?
He had both. Which goes... Never mind. Goes to show you the talent that's there. Again, I loved Ryan Bader because, bro, me and my boys used to like spar in the basement. We had the headsets. We had blue boxing gloves, red boxing gloves, and head units, so we could just beat the shit out of each other in the basement. And it felt a little. Dude, we used to beat up Chorman so bad. Bro, Nick would come in the basement.
You beat me up and you took that pic. Dude, the helmet was.
Like, me and Frank, and this was at like the height of it when I was like committed to it, and me and my buddy Nick were like so into it. And Frank came over one time, and I think me and Frank were just sparring. Again, I got good size on Frank, but I think like I dapped him up with a 2-piece and a McNugget, and like I hit him, and the mask went like this, and it's just him like this.
I'm like that on the ground.
Like and that's the other thing. It didn't like go like that, and he fell. Like I hit him, he fell, and like as it fell, he just was like this, and it's just me taking a picture of him like that. Yeah, that was a fun weight class experience.
Yeah. It was an open weight fight down there.
Yeah, I was 14 and I was weighing in at 165 and Frank was at 120.
Were you ever here when I had the fight nights down here? I did like 2 of them.
I think I was here for one.
Okay, you were here for that. Those were interesting times.
We had This was an interesting basement for a while. Buy your ticket to fight nights or cockfights, or I'm kidding. We had roosters down here now. But dude, that shit was mad. I was notorious for throwing the Ryan Bader over the right. Like, do you guys remember watching? Like he would just like Ryan Bader would be like this, and then out of nowhere he just threw this obnoxiously like over like this is an uppercut. What do you call this? Like, it's not a roundhouse. It's just like a woo. Like, I always hated it, but I was like, that's such a cool punch. Like, I was so fixed on it. That was like a random of my tops. But have you ever like top
fights?
Yeah, like top fighters, like of the 5, like unbiased, like guys maybe you didn't love, but like are on there.
I don't know. I think I pretty much named everybody.
Yeah.
I could go on all night. You know what I mean? You can keep going.
Listen, you could. That's the other thing. Like, if you want to get into it, I'd love to put Frankie on my list. Like, Frankie, pride of New Jersey, dude. Like, wrestling guy in Jersey, grew up like he was kind of a legend of people knowing. Oh, this guy was a wrestler. Got into UFC, had some pretty fucking big wins, bro. I remember at the height. When we would watch it, I always used to hate Dana White. I hated Dana White. I like Dana a lot more now because I think he's the guy that you need as your commissioner. Like, fuck you. I run this. Don't tell me how to do it. That's like the commissioners that are like, for example, baseball. Well, the Astros cheated, but we're just gonna take some money from them. They literally cheated to win a world championship, and you didn't take it from them. What?
Yeah.
Like, if Jon Jones was on drugs with a belt, they didn't say you're going to still be the champion. He got rid of the belt. What happened with this? What happened with baseball? So, like, I didn't like Dana because I thought Dana, again, he chases the bag. He always wants the top fight. And I always hated back in the day. I felt like, dude, you don't give the rematches to the people I want. Like, remember when the Frankie rematch? I wanted Frankie to fight anyone else but BJ Penn after Frankie won. I was like, anybody else, BJ Penn immediately. I was like, that doesn't really make sense to me. There's nobody else in the division that can fight. Just, you're going to give him an immediate, like, that would have been like Vince McMahon coming out being like, you're fired. Yeah, like, something like that, where, like, literally the night of, BJ Penn's getting, like, stretched up to the octagon, and they're like, you get a rematch right now. Like, Money in the Bank cash in, like, something like that. Like, but I just was like, oh my God, dude. Like, but I like him a lot more now. And Dana White's also an interesting character if you watch some stuff on him. Like, apparently there's a rumor that he was about to get whacked by the Boston mob. And that's,
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, so he was going to get whacked by the Boston mob and, like, just barely got out of there, moved to wherever, got
Vegas.
Involved in, I think it was boxing, became, like, a boxing manager, and then I don't know how, but fell into the UFC, became involved. And the UFC's been sold, what, twice now where he's the head of it, and both times he hasn't stepped down?
It was him and the two Fertitta brothers that bought it originally. In 2000, 2001?
Yep,
and then they sold it in 2016?
And then they just sell it again? Or was that, no, am I wrong? No, they sold it in 2016.
But the only thing was that Dana had to stay as president.
Yes,
that was the only condition.
In 2016, that was like the big thing. Because again, I mean, listen, do you know who bought him in 2016?
No, I don't.
Whoever it was smart enough to say, you got to stay. You have to be the face. And I mean, dude, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. Do you know who Robbie Fox is with Barstool? He's like their UFC guy. He's like also like a nerd. Yeah, like glasses. Yeah. I like the guy. Sometimes he's a Conor diehard, so like he kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes because I'm like, oh boy. But he does a tour of Dana's office. You go watch it when you get home at you. Like, I've seen that, on it, yeah. Dude.
He shows him like has and everything.
Yeah, is that the one with the thumbnail where he's got like that saber-tooth fucking tiger like mouth?
Saber-tooth tiger like mouth. He has Japanese swords from like every fucking dynasty that's ever been involved. Like actual samurai swords. He bought off Pawn Stars. He bought a bunch of their samurai swords that came in. Like Rick got a sword, sent it out to get like it took like 3 years to get fixed. And then, like, Dana White came in that night and, like, bought the sword. Like, Chum sold him the sword that night.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I see.
For, like, $35,000 or whatever, because he's like, oh, I'll buy all. But Chum was like, you have to buy all of them. He's like, all right, no problem. Then he has, like, the one cool thing he has is he's got, like, I don't know what the word says. Let's say it says love. But whatever it is, he has a word that spells out something. Or maybe it's a gun. And it's filled with all the things that run the world. So, like, one part of it's, like, diamonds. One part of it's cocaine. One part of it's, like, ammunition. It's, like, pretty fucking sick to, like, think. It's, like, a cool art piece where it's, like, these are literally the things that run the world. Like, drugs, money, and sex, whatever it might be. And I was like, that's fucking sick. But that man is, like, big on having wild things. I think he also has a samurai suit. Like, their entire getup. From like one of the dynasties, like
why not?
Big. Yeah, why not? Listen, when you're worth, how much is he worth now? I mean, what was the sale of the UFC? You're telling me he didn't make it. You're telling me he didn't, bro. You know how much money he made off that sale? God. The Fertittas probably gave him money after that. He probably had a chunk of the company when the Fertittas sold it, and they were like, "Dude, great job." He probably was like, here's a little bit more too.
He's got to be close to a billionaire.
I think he is a billionaire. Well, the UFC I know for a fact is a $1 billion industry.
They sold it for what? 4 or 5.
I thought it was
right?
4 or 5.
Something like that.
But I mean, listen, if they're not,
and they bought it for $2 million.
Yeah. I mean, and $2 million in what? 01?
Yeah.
Think about that. Go look up how much that is. $2 million in 2001 is.
What a steal.
I'd love to know. Yeah, exactly. Ooh, I wish I had an extra 2 laying around. All right, so we'll do. We'll just get right into the top 5 fights as we go. My number 5 in only the fashion that I can have. I have Conor versus Nate 2 on there. I think that was a great fight. Like I said, I like to toy with people and say like Conor almost lost that fight. When you look back. You can make the argument. Did he lose it? Probably not, because again, it makes more sense to eventually make a third fight. Especially if he loses this next one, they might want to throw in that, hoping that Diaz has missed a step. Hoping possibly, but I don't think so. I also have Joanna versus Zhang. That fight was wild. Like, to this day, still one of the craziest fights. Like, watching that actually. And then Izzy and Gastelum, like I said. That's like my 5 spot. The Izzy Gastelum fight, it's not like a top 5 fight when you like break it down, but like for what was said in the fight and like what that did, I was like, I get jazzed up with that shit. Like that's the same thing with like football players that like they hit their head before the game. You're like, oh, this guy's really committed. Like this guy really wants to win. Like headbutts his locker or whatever. Same thing. My number 4, interesting one, but Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping, UFC. I think it was 100, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe
I think it was around there.
I think it was 100. Only reason I love that is because I remember to this day where I was. I think that was who? That was Lesnar Mir and GSP. GSP Hardy? Did they fight Dan Hardy?
Yeah, they did fight.
I think he did fight. I don't know if that was
really
the card.
good card. UFC 100, really good card. I remember I was in one of the Carolinas on a family trip, and we had a projector, and we watched it on the wall. It was sick.
That's awesome.
To this day, I like still vividly remember like watching it. Why I loved that fight so much. I didn't like Mike Bisping. He's a great fighter, but I hated him because he just talked and talked and talked.
And you hate him because he's British.
No, I just hated him because he was a no.
I mean, that's why I hate him.
Not because he's a
he's just talking shit to the American.
I just hate that he was just talking. And Dan Henderson was this guy that's like, bro, Dan Henderson's is a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. But he's a legend.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but again, he's a legend of the sport, and you're just talking. And even at UFC 100, he was a legend of the sport.
Yeah.
And this guy was just jawing him off, and Henderson's like,
they literally go like that.
and I literally remember he hit him, knocked Bisping to the ground, and the ref was going over to call it, and Henderson loaded up and boom, like threw a punch through the ground to this guy's face, like literally would have like gotten charged on assault. But I like to this day, like I still remember watching that fight. That was a great freaking card. I wasn't probably as like versed in it, but Tito Chuck 2 is my number 3. I loved when Chuck finally just knocked Tito out like that. Again, like hated Tito. I like did not like that dude. And also like the story behind the fact that you guys were boys. Like that was your friend, and then Tito like out of nowhere was like, we're not friends anymore. And Chuck was like, the fuck? Like, okay, sick. Like, let's fight then. Like, and you could tell Chuck was coming for the belt, and Tito was like, I don't know if this will make you laugh or not. I compared Chuck and Tito to Ricky Bobby and Dale,
friend.
right?
Yeah,
Was it Dale? How Ricky Bobby was on the top, and every time Dale's like, oh, I want to win, and he's like, you're good at second. It was the same thing with Tito and Chuck. Tito was like, no, this is my division. I run it. You don't need to be at the top. And Chuck was like,
no, but when he was saying that, he was like, oh, me and Chuck are friends. I'm not going to fight my friend. Yeah. And then as soon as he loses and Chuck has the belt, he's like, oh, I'll fight Chuck. He's not my friend. And
he's not my friend. It's like, come on, you don't have the title anymore. Like, but that's there. Whew, boy. This one was one I had a very hard time picking because I wanted to put it at my 1, but my number 1 is kind of like a UFC 1. Like, I would say a lot of UFC fans would probably say it, but my number 2 is Jones and Gustafson. Boy, was that a war. Frank, if you want to watch a good UFC fight, bro, go home later. You're home. Go later and watch Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafson. It was an absolute war with two guys that did not like each other, but they went to war, and then afterwards, like, aren't the pictures in the back of the locker room? They're both bloodied up. Yeah. Beat to shit, and they both had that respect of like, we just beat the shit out of each other, and like, I mean, it was a close fight. It was a tough. That's the other problem with Jon Jones. If you really want to get into it, his last 6 fights, you can make the case that he lost 3.
Yeah, his post USADA fights.
Dude,
he's like,
think about it. I mean,
anymore.
A lot of people think he lost to Dominic Reyes, and a lot of people think he lost to Thiago Santos. Mm-hmm. Like, both fights were close, but. Again, I think we've always talked about in the unwritten rule with UFC is like, you got to beat the champ. You have to undisputedly beat the champ. And that's like where you go into those situations where you're like, you know what, that is closer, but then you look at the Holloway fight and you're like,
just gonna say that the Holloway-Volkanovski fight,
like that doesn't make sense because like that was the one case that it finally did make sense where you're like, he beat him, like he beat the champ, like that, like no, like that is not true, like it doesn't go to the champ in that case. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the cards were pretty bad too. Didn't the officials give it like 2 points, 3 points, 4? Yeah. Like it wasn't like a 1 point off.
It wasn't 4-1.
Yeah, dude, it was bad. It was like disrespectful for it, and I think that screwed me up for it because I was like, shit, dude, Holloway was my guy. But my number one, Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonnar. I mean, bro, that is like, if you ever want to tell a casual to watch it and understand what like the UFC is, that's the fight you do. I agreed with you. Stephan Bonnar, or Forrest Griffin was literally my favorite fighter for the longest time. I loved that man to death. I literally was like, that's my guy. I stopped liking him at one fight, him versus Silva. When he got beat by Anderson and ran out of the ring, I will, for the rest of my life, never forget that. Because
I thought that was him and Tito.
No, that was Anderson.
I know he did it for Tito when he thought he thought he lost, so he just walked out.
See, and that's where that's the thing that gets me. Like, you are in a sport that you know the consequence. Like, you know what's going to happen if you lose. You know what's going to happen if you win. Unless you're getting rushed to the hospital, there's no reason for you to leave that octagon. Yeah, you are there to talk. You are there to have the opponent's hand raised, and you have to have your hand there with the opponent getting his hand raised. You have to do that. Like, that's what you signed up for. Like, you don't wait for, you don't go into an NFL game, and if you're getting blown out, you don't go like, oh, like, you know, we leave now. Like, it's the fourth quarter. We still got time on the clock, but we're getting killed. You don't leave. It's not how the sport works, you know? But yeah, I mean, that was an absolute, and like, again, what a perfect way to get two guys a contract, you know? I mean, it went to Stephan, or it went to Forrest, and then they're like, Stephan, you also got one? Because basically the premise of The Ultimate Fighter, do you know what it is?
No, not really.
UFC created The Ultimate Fighter. It's two coaches that were going to eventually fight at a pay-per-view fight. They coach up fighters to make it different rounds, and then eventually the winner gets a UFC contract. It's definitely changed since the original concept where one person got a contract and then a couple others did. Yeah. Now it's kind of like everybody almost gets it kind of a thing. But the last fight, the one for the contract, it ended up being like one of the best UFC fights of all time, and they both ended up getting contracts with it. So, great fight. My number one fight when I break down my top 5. So I'll toss it over to you.
Yeah, so my number one was going to be Stephan Bonnar versus Forrest Griffin because that's just the one that everyone needs to watch. That's just what it is.
Everyone.
But I also really like Roy McDonald versus Robbie Lawler.
I left some out because I knew like I couldn't go with just those.
Man, you guys are taking all mine.
Dude, my barber was getting on me too because I told him, I'm like, oh, that's not on my list. What do you mean? And he wanted me to literally call him on the podcast. Like, what do you mean that's not on your list? I'm like, because I know how you think, and I was like, I know how you're gonna think too. I'm like, I can't say all of them and be like, toss it to you guys, and then you have none and you have none. I was like, you know.
Did you see Rory just won in the PFL?
Did he really?
Yeah, he's like coming on like a little comeback. It's weird. He's only 31. I'm like, he's 31. Robert Whittaker's 30. Max Holloway's 29. It's like, what is happening?
You said fighting young, Robbie Lawler. Dude, that man's been
fighting
since
Roy McDonald.
No, I know. I'm saying,
Robbie started 18, 17.
Dude, Robbie Lawler was in the first couple of UFCs.
Yeah, he started in 03.
I think he was in UFC like 60.
Yeah.
We're about to be
earlier.
Like UFC 260 something.
Yeah,
he's a strange cat too, bro.
Dude, that man is a dog, bro. Yeah. Oh, that's a good fight though. It's a good fight.
Then I also got Colby versus Usman.
That's a great fight. That is a fight that will definitely go into top 10, top 20 in the next couple years looking down the line. Like, people will be like, that was a good fucking fight, you know?
Yeah, and then Randy Chuck for just an all-time classic for that. When Randy beats Chuck, or no, when Chuck beats Randy to win the belt that he's been trying to chase for years, and then goes on. Yeah,
this,
he just fucking him punching the air and shit.
Dude,
he's fucking.
That was the thing. Chuck knew how to celebrate because he didn't know. Like, he didn't know what he was doing. His body was just moving in different.
And then you just see his glorious HGH belly just fucking hanging out,
just like this, bro. Just was like he had a gut, and he just like
his
had
fucking steroid belly.
Dude, so funny.
And then my last one, I want to do a GSP versus Josh Koscheck, where GSP just demolishes a fucking national champion wrestler in wrestling when he has a karate background.
And that's, again, why that man was on my top
that's
all-time fighters, because that was... GSP became a perfectionist. He's like, you're going to be a wrestler? Sick. I'm going to beat you at your own game.
Yeah.
Every fight. That's all he wanted to do. He's like, if you're a boxer, sick, I'm going to stand with you for 5 fucking rounds if you really want. And people were like, why is this guy standing with me? You're supposed to take me to the ground. I practiced taking you down. Yeah. And GSP's like, absolutely not. I'm just going to stand with you for 5 fucking rounds and just beat the shit out of you. That man is a mental... He's a psychopath in the best way possible. Does that make sense? Like, he just is like, he's so... perfect with his craft, you know what I'm saying?
That's gotta be like that, man. They gotta be.
100%.
You gotta be crazy.
You have to be. You have to be a little bit crazy to be successful in this world. It's just, it's like a known fact. I mean, look at freaking Bezos. That man is a psychopath. And I know my chip's gonna malfunction a little bit, but, you know, just a joke, people, okay? I have no problem with you getting vaccinated or not. It was just a joke. I know someone's gonna be in there, this really bothered me! Yeah. Any other ones?
Nah, I'm going to wrap it up on that one.
I mean, those are good ones. Ev, I'll pass it over to you.
All right, the first one I got, see, I didn't really put them in order, so I'm just going to go off the top of my list.
You're good, bro.
Joanna versus Zhang.
Dude,
that fight was nuts, man.
Wild
UFC
fight.
248 is the fight right before Izzy and Yoel, which is a snooze fest.
But
this one, man,
but
that fight was insane. I did not expect that at all, man.
No.
Me and all my buddies were on the edge of our seats, standing up, yelling at the TV. My dad was watching. He's like against UFC because he's a big boxing fan.
He's huge. When I tell you this man is like the biggest boxing fan ever, that's why it's a funny household, because this is your UFC fan, and his dad's like a huge boxing fan. So it's just funny they gotta like share different rooms. It's like, boxing's on, you're in there. UFC's on, we're in.
But yeah, no, that fight was nuts. The big contusion that she had on her head, like an alien at the end. I mean, everything about it was crazy.
Dude, looked like an alien. You got to look up the picture of that girl after the fight.
Oh, you ever seen that?
Type in Xiaoli.
I'm not even. Young Jacek. I don't know.
Joanna Jacek versus Zhang Weili. Zhang Zhang
Wait, Joanna Barashi?
Nope.
It starts with, I think it's like J.
It's Joe Chacek?
Young Jacek, something like that. I don't know. She's got like 14 Z's in it.
That Polish.
Yeah, real Polak.
Gotta represent. Those are some psychopath UFC fighters. Yeah, go.
I have Conor versus Nate too. I think you already mentioned that one.
Yeah, that was one. That was my
war, man. I mean, the way Conor came back and trained.
Oh my God, I remember seeing this. Sorry,
dude. Isn't it crazy?
Yes. Yeah, how nuts
dude,
is that?
You want to know what I typed in? UFC alien head. It came up. Literally.
Yep. Yeah, bro, that was right after a fight. Like, that was like in the octagon.
Yeah,
like,
fifth round, she still had that thing,
I know,
man.
bro.
Zhang punched her in it and it was like wobbled and stuff.
Like,
disgusting.
That's so a chip malfunction if I've ever seen one.
But yeah, so Conor Nate too, war. The way he came back and trained. I mean, he got knocked out in the second round in the first fight, blew his gas tank. He threw everything he had in the first round. And came out, had nothing left, dude. He got capped.
And Nate is someone that doesn't get gas because that man just fights. Like he will literally, he could probably fight for an hour.
Yeah,
like,
and not to mention he probably had 20 pounds on him
easily
inside the octagon. You know, especially the first fight because Conor was coming up from what 145 to 170.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
So, I mean,
which is
Nate was a big boy, man.
Yeah. Oh.
And he was 6'1".
Dude, he went into that fight big, and Conor was like, "I got it." Conor was like,
he was like 165.
Not good.
I think he weighed in under 170 too.
I think I would not put that past him.
Yeah, he came in and just attacked the leg. He had a good game plan, man. And I was one of the people who definitely think Conor won. I mean, I must have watched the fight
100 times. Yeah, exactly.
Because I was one. I was like, did Nate win?
Yeah.
I watched it like 3 more times. I was like, nah.
And again, I don't attack you about it, but the casual fan that can't back up their stuff, I will always. And it's just because I like to have fun with them because I've watched UFC for so long. So I'm like, did you watch the fight again? And then they start to be like, shit, did I watch the fight again? And then they go back.
Did I go watch it the first time?
Did I watch it the first time?
I just exactly listen to what people
I know he lost the first time, but did he not win the second time? Like,
yeah. So the next one I got is Dustin Holloway 2. which was I think it was UFC 236.
Yeah, dude, that was
right before Izzy Gastelum that you already mentioned.
Yep.
I mean, that was a war, man.
It was a good
came
fight.
out, bullied him in the first round, basically just like, you know, at the end of the first round, I was like, oh, this is not going to end well for Max at all. But then Max came back. I mean, it was a competitive fight for the rest of the fight. It was wild.
Yeah, which is crazy too, because when you think about it, Max is the lighter dude. Like Max.
Well, that's what it was. It was a power difference. Dustin would hit him, and then Max would hit him. It's like, oh, there's a big difference.
Like that's the other thing with UFC. The lighter you are, not to say you don't hit as hard, because again, some guys will just hit you hard. Yeah, but heavyweight, like you said. Someone's got a fist the size of your phone, that might hurt a little bit more than someone that's got a fist the size of this key.
Also, Dustin just cuts a fuck ton of weight.
Dude.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
What fight was... I forget when he was on Joe Rogan.
He probably walks around at like 2 something.
Nah.
Like, dude,
I think he's saying when he's heavy, he's like upwards.
Yeah,
he's upwards, close to 190, but he's like mid 180s.
Dude,
but still, dropping...
Yeah,
but dropping like 40 pounds, 30 pounds... And he's not even fat when he's at that weight.
No. But even he says he doesn't want to cut that much weight, but you have to.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what are you going to do? Fight at your real weight? Okay, those guys weigh 220.
Well, that's why was like one championship over in Singapore. They don't do weight cuts. They do hydration testing. It's just way better.
Look at what everyone was saying about. I mean, we were talking about it the night of. Not only did Francis look better, dude. How much weight did Francis have on Stipe?
Oh, yeah.
30 pounds plus.
I think.
Bro.
Yeah. Stipe was light, man.
Stipe was light for that fight.
Stipe even said, he's like, I overtrained that for that fight.
Dude, Francis.
Yeah, he's like, I literally just overtrained.
Yeah. I mean, he did. I was watching, so if you ever get the chance to watch the UFC, the Undisputed videos to lead up to the fights, they're great. They're really well put together. They're vlogs that kind of, it shows their everyday life as well as their training life, as well as what they've been doing to get to that point. Really cool documentaries. I recommend the Masvidal one versus Usman, the first one, because that's when he had to cut, how much weight was it in 6 days? 20-something pounds.
Yeah.
He had to cut that much weight in 6 days. And that was like with him flying. He had to get to Fight Island. He had to land in Fight Island. He had to cut that.
I mean, but when you're a professional like that, that's like nothing. Most guys walk into fight week 15 pounds overweight.
It's nothing, but like when he had to do it, the way he had to do it is where I give him a lot of props. Because that man doesn't cut like that. Because Jorge doesn't need, not that he doesn't need to, but like he probably fights around what he wants to fight around.
Yeah.
He's not really big for 170.
Well, he used to fight at 155.
Yeah.
And then he jumped up to 170.
Which I think was a good move for him.
Yeah, it seems like the big move is moving up in a weight class.
Yeah, 100%.
It just seems like everybody tends to do better when they're fighting close to actual weight and they're not killing themselves.
They're not killing themselves to the weigh-in, but they also can cut a little bit, feel better, be quicker, do this, do that. But like you said, especially when they're going back to their weight, or even when they're dropping to that weight, it's not drastic. Like, I can still eat a little bit better. I don't have to have like a piece of rice and a lima bean. My meal can actually be like chicken and rice or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. But who does the hydration testing instead of weight classes?
It's one championship. That's what it's called.
It's like a.
And why do you think it's better? What is the hydration test?
Well, basically just because a lot of guys, when they're going to go in for these weight cuts, you get to a point where there's just nothing you can lose except the water weight. So they essentially dehydrate themselves to the point where some of them can barely walk. Like, there's videos of Khabib literally like needing help walking.
What's her name?
So
Just a couple
dehydrated.
weeks ago, I think 2 fighters passed out.
The girl that passed out on the thing.
Yeah,
that was terrifying.
Like, there's that video of a cyborg literally like in tears in like the saline like salt bath trying to dehydrate herself just to cut down to 135.
Because your body holds so much water weight that you don't realize that's what you have to get rid of. Like first, obviously with fat, but like they got to do that. And like you said, they're so freaking dehydrated that their bodies a lot of the time shut down. There's videos, like you said. There's one girl, I forgot who it was. She got on the scale, went like this, and she dropped.
Yeah,
literally just dropped for the weigh-in.
It's not a good look too for the company.
Well, you wrestled, right? Did you wrestle? No.
I did. Yeah.
You wrestled. There you go. So you know.
I understand. Yeah, and I also never cut because I also refused to starve myself. I walked around 180, and that's just what I would wrestle.
You were just like, I'm good at this.
Yeah, I would just do that, and I would just wrestle up 195.
You got your buddies in the corner. They're like,
no, yeah, they're dying. I got like 135, just dying in the corner. Yeah, I'm like, oh, this sandwich is really good.
You guys want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings later? Kids like, No. Like eating a strand of lettuce, just like I can't.
That was the only time I was almost overweight because I went to actually Buffalo Wild Wings the night before a meet, and then I weighed myself at the school. Like, fuck.
And you're just like shitting. You're like, no. Like,
I just started running. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get this water out of me real quick. That's the only thing I'm losing at this point.
All right, Mister, you're gonna meet your friend today. Like, all right, but oh man, no, those are great fights too. You got any more? Or?
My last one I got is DC versus Stipe 2, where Stipe came back in
Eye Poke City.
Eye Poke City, yeah. Was that the one where he had to get his eyes redone after that?
Those were the gods of the eye pokes, dude. Those two men. Like I complained about it with DC,
but
dude,
it was mostly DC.
No, of course.
Stipe had what? One.
We talked about it.
The third fight. Now
and the third fight, and I think it was kind of like a.
Fuck you, buddy.
This one's you did it for 2 fucking fights, buddy. Where sure. I didn't forget.
Yeah.
Listen, and I love that Stipe afterwards handled it so well. He was like, bro. Fuck you. You poked me so many times. Like, get out of here, bro.
He said like the same thing DC said. What I pokes? I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It shit happens, you know. But the way he came back with those with the body punches,
dude,
with the liver shots, man.
Oh my god.
He must have hit 11 shots in a row.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
That's a smart move on DC though. Like not to like shame him, that's a big part of his body, bro. Attack that. Like if he's not letting you hit his head,
hands up here.
That's the thing. And you just did that spot on. I went like,
like
make this the thumbnail, just playing back and forth because DC just literally. I can see him because I forgot what fight it is when he went out. He got knocked out. What he was doing, I think it was the Jones fight or maybe the Stipe fight. He was doing this. He got hit and he went.
Yeah, lean right into that kick.
Dude, it's just the hands. That was so spot. There's some fighters that just have these hand styles that are so funny that true UFC fans will be like.
Yeah. You know, he's just keeping it loose. He's just
dude,
keeping it loose.
Loosey Goose.
He's short too, so I mean they're fighting up.
Yeah,
he's got to hit up here. He's got to keep his hands
like,
up here.
Yeah. That's why I think you'll like Izzy so much. Izzy's kind of like an anime nerd, not to like whatever, but like Izzy is so wild with how he comes in. Like he does a whole like literally like Naruto entrance.
He wrote the Death Note before
dude,
the.
No,
he wrote Frank, Death Note before he beat Robert Whittaker. He came in. He goes like this. He's looking at him. Goes in his back pocket. He's like. Writes it and then fucking folds it and puts it in his back pocket. Dude, so awesome.
Dude,
but if you watch it, it's so sick. It's
dude,
it's not
like
it's
when
not
but the really cool thing about it, to go back before we kind of kick it back to you really quickly, that's what's cool about the sport because everyone thinks it's just jocks and like guys beating the shit out of each other, and he's like, bro. I was a nerd all my life, but I figured out I could beat the shit out of everybody, and I'm going to continue to do my thing. And, dude, he's like, again, they call him the style bender because how he fights is so much like an airbender. Like, how his body moves... Dude, I watch him fight, and I'm like, how the fuck did you make your leg do that? I can't even move my knee right now, and that man's just threw a flying knee into a reverse back.
His question mark kicks are actually, like, absurd.
Insane, dude. Insane.
If you want to explain.
So a question mark kick is essentially when you're going to throw a kick, a roundhouse just goes straight. Well, he'll do it where... He'll swing like for the body, but then he'll swing his knee and it comes up like that to kick you in the head.
So like if you're standing like this, you go like that, but then your leg shifts a different way.
Yeah.
Right.
So he goes to do this.
That's what they call it the question mark.
But it spins. So like when you're flat like this, instead of going like just two, your knee literally like moves in a circle like a question mark.
So the leg will come up straight, boom, and then come around like a question.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. You gotta check
Here, I'll
check that out.
Wonder Boy does a good one too. On his debut
when
he knocked him out.
There you go. That was one. Yeah. It just happened so fast.
Like that, yeah.
Like
so
again,
he fakes that straight kick and then
just how his body and he's caught in guys with it because that's the crazy thing about fighting. Mm-hmm. Like that's why fighting is so wild because you go to throw one thing and if you like Anderson Silva to Belfort, the kick in the face. These guys would just square up like this, and Anderson Silva out of nowhere, like it's almost like out of the Love Guru or wherever, where your lower half moves.
You mean Zohan?
Zohan, yeah, don't mess with the Zohan on his legs, dude. Literally, they were standing like this, and boom, this leg came out, kicked him in the face, and knocked him out.
What was it? I think Anderson said before, a couple months before they asked him, he's like, I would never throw a front kick to the face.
And he immediately did it.
Yeah, he says something like that.
That's great.
But I'll kick it back to you on the Stipe DC. Any other closing notes with that?
I mean, no, that was it. That was all the list that I got.
I will say that now that I think about it, that Death Note thing is actually fucking hilarious.
No, you have to watch. You have to look up the video.
I'm definitely gonna look that up.
Dude, you gotta look up just Izzy highlights.
For people that don't know what that is, it was like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Like, that's
because I wasn't aware of what it was. I was like, what did he just do right there?
Yeah.
And when I learned, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. But again, that's what I like fuck with about him. Like, oh man, what did he say? What are the guys that wear all black in Naruto?
Akatsuki.
Yeah. Remember when he went on to Fight Island when he was fighting.
Oh, dude, that shit was so funny.
When he fucking, again, it's somewhat of like it's you're being like a clown, but like he came in with an Akatsuki shirt on.
No, that was actually a sick shirt though.
Yeah, and it was like a button-up Akatsuki shirt. Yeah. And he walked up and they're like, and one of the guys knew what it was, so he's like, oh, what's up with the black Akatsuki shirt? And he's like, I'm just feeling Akatsuki really dark for this fight. I'm really excited for it against Costa. And you could just tell this man was like ready to fucking fight.
Dude.
And he shifts how he fights according to like the stuff he liked in like the anime roles and stuff, which is sick for those kids growing up. Like all I do is I love Airbender, and those kids that maybe are doing gymnastics or they're doing kickboxing or they're doing boxing, and they're like, dude, kids think I'm a loser because all I do is watch this. And he's like, bet you're not, because look at me. I mean, this is coming from the guy that, again, he stood across the ring from a guy and told him he would die in the ring. This comes from the guy that was in a kickboxing match and didn't go to his corner to take a break. Mm-hmm. He stood in the middle of the ring until the fight break ended. You get 30 seconds before the next round? He stood in the middle of the ring and looked at his opponent the entire time the guy took a break. That's where your mental state doesn't break. That's why that man, again, he moved up a weight class to try to fight a guy and lost. And I think that could be one of the best things for his career. That could really put him in such a good spot.
I'm glad he did it now than later. Because there's so many guys that want to chase gold in a different weight class, but it always ends up where they get cracked. Luke Rockhold, for example, had the gold, loses it to Bisping, goes, I think I need to change because we'll move up to 205, and then gets destroyed by Jan Blachowicz.
Did you not just hear he said he wants to fight him?
Yeah, who?
Izzy.
He wants to fight. He's an idiot.
Yep.
Luke Rockhold does, yeah.
Yep.
I heard that he wants to fight.
Saying that, I was like,
he's like, I want to fight someone in the top 10, but no one wants to give him a fight.
Yeah, he's got to fight a top 15.
You got to fight someone else first. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you're not the Strike Force Luke Rockhold. You're not the Strike Force fucking middleweight champion.
You're not even the Luke Rockhold that beat Chris Weidman. Yeah, you're not the same guy either. Yeah, it's just, and listen, respect to the guy. I respect all these guys regardless if I like them or don't, because the training, the fighting, the sparring, all of this shit is hard. It is not. This is not soccer. This is not to say these sports aren't hard. This isn't you throwing a baseball. This isn't you throwing a football. Those sports all have complicated matters to them. I personally don't think there's a harder sport than fighting when it comes to everything, because of what you have to train for. The training, the preparation, the years of success that you have to have. There's not many guys that go in there like, I've been fighting for a year. You get the occasions where Jon Jones wasn't fighting very often before he got in, then he got good at it. There's certain guys that happens to.
Yeah. Strong mental state.
Look at how many kids fight and they're never going to make it to the UFC, or they're going to work their ass off to get there. And they just won't, because it's hard. Dude.
Yeah, well, first of all, you need the mental capacity to cut weight anyways.
Or get beat.
You're going to cut 15, 20 pounds and starve yourself.
This isn't you losing a hockey match. This isn't you losing a lacrosse game. This isn't you losing a football game. This is you losing to another one-on-one opponent. This is something.
This is you potentially losing years off your life from getting hit in the head.
Yeah,
concussions,
depending.
And all that stuff
exactly.
Well. I mean, you got to think of that stuff too when you.
And losing is just embarrassing, especially when there's no one else to put the blame on, but you're the one getting your ass kicked in front of a television.
They're never like, the corner didn't prep him, or his team really didn't do well this camp. Yeah, no one says that.
No one says the team. It's always on the fighter, which. Yeah. Well, Adam, when we were watching that Game Time when Chandler was on the fucking canvas after getting knocked out by Adams. In front, an entire bar saw that. A bunch of people that he's never
and they're all just like, ha ha ha, like, yeah.
Well, I was pissed. I was screaming.
Oh, dude, I
told the bartender to just give me some shots.
Did you see, really quickly, did you see after the fight?
When he was running around?
When he went into the back rooms and when he was fucking slamming the doors.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Chandler. Yeah, there's videos of him. He walks by and Dariush actually congratulate. Like he says, he's like, bro, this is going to be the best thing for your career. He's like, believe me. He's like, you are going to 100% benefit from this. And I agree with him 100%. Yeah. I think it's better. Think about it. It's better for Chandler to lose now and understand how he lost and not lose again.
Yeah.
Like,
but the thing is, he also won the first round, so it's not even like.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, he got clipped.
Yeah,
he got clipped.
That happens.
I wouldn't say dominated because I was scared for a second when he was in. Dude, I thought he was.
No, but he had him on the ground and he didn't. The BJJ guy that Olives is, and he didn't submit. That was a good sign, and then he gets up and starts teeing off.
Because he's never been submitted, right? Isn't that
who?
I think
Chandler?
Chandler. That's what I was told.
My favorite thing about that round is when Olives was on his back, and instead of just like trying to shake him off or something, not cowardly, but wise technique-wise, you know what I mean? He just fucking jumps up and slams him. Like that's a risky movement. As soon as you slam him on your back, I mean he could catch your neck. He could catch your arm.
I was surprised.
He like jumped up.
He had him on his back and he literally just went and just dropped him. And
that's risky for Chandler, but it was exciting.
Fighters don't do that. Yeah. Chandler's tiny and stocky. This other guy is lengthy. So like it was a very mismatched in that sense where Chandler's a fly compared to Olives, which is a spider. He's able to kind of wrap his like arms around you, where Chandler was just being wide that whole fight when he was getting in those submissions. He was just being as wide as he could because then Oliveira couldn't wrap his arms around him as effectively, and I think that helped. Dude, he's so big, and Chandler again, he's got great. I didn't think he had good ground, like as good of ground game. Holy shit,
strong, man.
Dude. Holy shit, that man. Yeah, but again, that was an annoying loss. I wanted Chandler to win, but it was a great
That's also one you can't like bat an eye to.
No,
that's one you can't.
And you gotta also be happy about. I said the same thing about Stipe and Francis. Like, fuck, did I want Stipe to win?
Yeah.
But damn, was the Francis win great for the sport and good for him? That man's worked his ass off to get a title. Same thing with Oliveira.
Yeah, that's
that guy deserves it. He really does deserve it. And hey, man, listen, my buddy was talking to me. He's like, "Oh, well, Oliveira didn't. Look at his all-time record." I'm like, it doesn't matter a lot of the time. That man's proven himself the last 5.
I mean, the
if
dude
you
was
win
told
6 fights in a row.
Yeah.
And you're 12-6. It doesn't matter. You've won 6 fights in a row. What are you supposed to do? Get to 24-6?
Yeah, I don't deserve it.
Hospital. He got a title shot. What has he got? 14 losses or something? But
more than that.
He got a second title shot off of a title loss.
Yeah, exactly.
But he went on a hell of a run before that. You know.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, recency. You know.
Yeah.
Recency bias.
And that's again going all the way back. That's why UFC in the day used to bother me so much because it was like, oh, who's the guy? Like who?
Well, there's also no depth back then too. There wasn't a whole lot.
No, of course. Again, Frankie Edgar
but
only
now,
literally had BJ Penn to fight. It was like, there wasn't many guys.
But now you have 15 guys that you only see the names of, and then guys coming up that have to break that threshold.
Look at they just announced who's Usman's next. Who is fighting next before the next Usman fight? It is
in 170.
Yes,
Burns and Wonderboy.
Burns and Wonderboy. Boy, do I want Wonderboy to win that fight.
Yeah.
Give me Wonderboy versus Usman for the title.
They didn't.
Bro.
They never fought, did they?
No, I don't think so.
He fought Tyron.
Happen after.
It would be Colby. Well, because Colby, who fights who next?
Colby doesn't have a fight.
Usman.
Oh,
that's live. Oh no, who did Colby just fight?
Tyron Woodley.
Yes, Woodley, and he. Yeah,
that was like last year. That's almost a year from
Woodley,
now.
Man. Yeah. No, but yeah, that'll be a good one. But well, on that note, I'm happy everyone stayed around. If you're not a UFC fan, boy, I hope after this you at least want to check some of the stuff we watched out. I don't know if you guys have any closing notes.
That's it, man. It was fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you guys coming on. I'm very happy that I have a couple UFC. When you go and you look for football people, you can get more football people. Basketball people, you can do that. UFC, you gotta go a little bit deeper in the roster sometimes. So I appreciate both of you guys coming on, and I'm happy you guys are both as passionate as I am, and hopefully maybe we can get Frank into it as much as we are. But Frank, Star Wars, Walking Dead, and UFC. We're gonna beat the dead horse with it as much as we can. But thank you guys again. Hot Takes Podcast. This is number to be determined. See you guys later.
Number 1 power would be the power of love.
The power of love.
Yeah, so this world could be in peace.
That's already here. We already have that.
Not a lot of people have the power of love.
Well, me and you do.
This is true. But you're right. Not everybody does have it, you know?
So I would make everyone friends.
No bullies.
Make the world peaceful.
No bullies.
No bullies.
No killing the ocean.
Yeah.
No
chopping down trees.
Yeah. No hurting animals.
We could use other resources like clay.
True. This is true.
No hurting animals, only if necessary.
Right. I love that one. I love that power.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with That one.
The power of love?
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
My dad always asks me that question. It'd be the same answer over and over. The power of love.
Beautiful. I love that one. Great answer. Great answer from both of you.